Most people want to connect better. They want to be understood. They want to say what they mean and feel heard when they speak. But communication isn't just about talking. It's about how you talk, how you listen, how you respond, and how you carry yourself in every conversation. Whether it's with your partner, your team, your friends, or even strangers, the way you speak shapes your relationships, your reputation, and your future. If you've ever walked away from a conversation wishing you handled it better, or felt like you couldn't express your thoughts clearly, this guide is for you. This isn't about complicated techniques or memorizing perfect phrases. It's about developing real skills that actually work in real life. Skills that help you stay calm during conflict, speak with confidence, listen with full attention, and express yourself clearly even under pressure. You'll learn how to deal with difficult conversations without losing your cool. You'll learn how to build trust with your words and strengthen every relationship around you. You'll also learn how to control your tone, choose the right words, and become someone who others naturally respect and want to listen to. If you're tired of being misunderstood, tired of holding back, or tired of letting emotions take over in important moments, you're going to want to stick with this. Because once you master communication, you take control of how others experience you. You'll no longer feel stuck in awkward conversations or walk away frustrated by what you should have said. Instead, you'll know exactly how to handle every moment with calm, clarity, and purpose. This guide gives you practical tools you can use right now, not next week, not someday. It's built for real people who want to get better at speaking, listening, and connecting. So if you're ready to grow, if you're ready to build stronger connections, and if you're ready to turn your words into something that truly matters, this is where you start. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. Speak clearly and confidently every single day. Speaking clearly and confidently every single day is not about impressing others. It's about making sure your voice serves your life. Most people are not born with strong communication skills, they develop them. And the way you develop anything is by doing it with intention. Speaking is something we all do daily, yet very few do it with discipline. Very few use their voice with precision, awareness, and strength. That's what this chapter is about. Speaking is a skill, and if you train it deliberately, it becomes a powerful tool you can use in every area of your life. When you speak, you're not just sharing words, you're revealing your mind. People don't only hear what you say, they feel your energy. They sense your belief. They notice your conviction. They respond to your tone, your pauses, and your presence. That's why communication is so powerful. The way you speak tells people who you are. It shows how you think, how you feel, how you carry yourself. And the clearer you are, the more confident you become, not because others validate you, but because you begin to trust your own voice. Many people speak with hesitation. They fear saying the wrong thing. They fear judgment. They second-guess themselves even before opening their mouths. That fear creates tension. That tension shows up in their voice. Their words come out shaky, too soft, or too fast. And the worst part is, they don't realize they're doing it. They live this way for years, unaware that their communication style is holding them back. That ends now, because once you understand what's really stopping you, you can change it. Clarity starts with slowing down. Speaking confidently is not about volume, it's about calm control. When you rush your words, you lose connection. When you speak too quietly, you weaken your message. You don't need to yell or dominate a conversation to be strong. You just need to be grounded, deliberate, and composed. The goal is to make sure your words carry your message with strength and accuracy. If you talk fast because you're nervous, train yourself to pause. If you mumble because you're unsure, train yourself to articulate every syllable. These are skills, and like any skill, they grow with practice. Every day you have small opportunities to practice clear and confident speech. These moments might feel insignificant, but they shape who you are. When someone asks how your day is going, don't mumble a half-hearted response. Look them in the eye and answer with energy. When you're giving your opinion, don't apologize for it. Say it clearly, simply, and directly. When you're introducing yourself, speak with enough strength that people want to remember your name. These little actions build your communication muscle, and the more you do them, the more natural they become. You don't become a confident speaker by accident. You become one by intention. That means choosing your words carefully. It means staying calm under pressure. It means not letting your fear of being judged stop you from expressing what matters. Most people waste energy overthinking what others will think of them, but when you make your focus the message, not yourself, you step out of fear and into purpose. Purpose silences doubt. When you speak with a reason behind your words, you speak with more clarity. You become more precise, more thoughtful, more connected. Confidence doesn't come from being the smartest person in the room. It comes from being real. It comes from being present. People connect with honesty, not perfection. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need big words. You need presence. You need clarity. You need honesty. If you say what you mean, and mean what you say, your confidence begins to rise. You stop trying to impress and start trying to express. That shift changes how people experience you. It changes how you experience yourself. A confident speaker doesn't speak to dominate. They speak to deliver value. They speak to serve. They speak to connect. They don't rush their words because they're not trying to escape silence. They're using silence to strengthen their words. Every pause becomes a point. Every sentence becomes intentional. You'll notice this in people who lead well. They don't waste words. They don't fill space with noise. They say what's needed, and then they stop. That's power. That's presence. That's confidence. To build this kind of presence, you must start paying attention to how you speak when no one's watching. Notice how you speak when you're alone. What kind of tone do you use when you talk to yourself? Are you harsh? Are you dismissive? Are you vague? Because the way you speak to yourself is the foundation of how you speak to the world. If you doubt your voice internally, you will hesitate externally. That's why confidence begins in private. It begins in your daily thoughts. It begins in the quiet decisions you make every morning. Speak to yourself with respect. Speak to yourself with belief. That tone will eventually become your default when you speak to others. Train your speech like you train a skill. Set goals. Be intentional. For example, decide to make eye contact in your next conversation. Decide to speak just 10% slower. Decide to remove filler words like and like from your daily speech. Decide to speak with a steady tone that reflects calm control. These are small shifts, but they compound over time. Every clear sentence is a rep. Every calm delivery is progress. Don't wait for a stage or a big audience. Train right where you are. Every interaction is a training ground. If you've ever felt like your voice doesn't matter, remember this: your voice is one of your greatest assets. It's not about being the loudest. It's about being real. It's about showing up with integrity in your speech. When you speak clearly, people don't just understand you, they begin to trust you. When you speak with quiet strength, People feel safe listening to you. That's how leaders speak. That's how change makers communicate. They don't just throw words around. They speak to move something. They speak to cause growth. You can be that person. You can develop that voice. It starts now. Make it a goal to express yourself fully every day. Even if it's just with one person. Say something that matters. Speak about what you care about. Tell someone the truth with kindness. Correct a misunderstanding with grace. Share an idea with clarity. The more you practice this, the stronger your voice becomes, and the stronger your voice becomes, the more influence you gain. Influence is not something you demand. It's something you build. And the foundation of that influence is clear, confident speech. Be aware of your posture when you speak. Stand tall. Don't shrink your body when it's time to express your mind. People read your posture before they hear your words. If you slouch, mumble, and look away, you lose your voice before you've spoken a word. But if you hold yourself with calm strength and open presence, people feel it. They respond to it. You don't have to force authority, you just have to embody it. And that starts with how you show up physically when you speak. There will be moments when your voice shakes, when your heart races, when the words don't come out perfectly. That's okay. Don't chase perfection. Chase progress. Chase impact. Even a shaky voice is powerful when it speaks truth. Even an imperfect sentence can change someone's life when it comes from a real place. So don't judge yourself for being nervous. Speak anyway. Speak with the strength you have right now, and you'll build more of it every time you do. If you ever feel unheard, don't shrink. Don't retreat. Learn, reflect, adjust, and speak again. Every person who has mastered communication started where you are, with uncertainty, with fear, with the desire to grow. Growth starts with action. And in the case of communication, the action is simple. Open your mouth and speak with intention. Every word is a chance to practice. Every sentence is a chance to improve. Don't wait to be perfect to begin. Begin now, and get better as you go. At the end of the day, speaking clearly and confidently isn't just about communication. It's about character. It's about who you decide to be when you open your mouth. Are you someone who builds, or someone who hides? Are you someone who speaks from ego, or from truth? Are you someone who runs from silence or uses it with power? Your answers show up in how you speak. They show up in your tone, your volume, your pacing, your presence. This is your invitation to choose clarity, to choose confidence, to choose growth. Speak like your words matter, because they do. Speak like your voice has value, because it does. Speak like you are shaping your future with every sentence, because you are. And when you do this every day, you don't just become a better speaker. You become a stronger person. One who leads with clarity. One who inspires with honesty. One who builds trust with words. That's the kind of communication that changes lives. And it starts with your next conversation. Speak well. Speak strong. Speak now.
Chapter 2. Listen deeply to understand people's needs truly. Most people think they're good listeners, but the truth is, real listening is rare. What most call listening is simply waiting for a chance to reply. It's pretending to pay attention while planning what to say next. That isn't listening. That's reacting. And it does nothing to build understanding, connection, or trust. If you want to master communication, you need to stop talking and start hearing. You need to make people feel seen, not just heard. That starts with learning how to listen deeply, not to respond, but to understand. When someone speaks to you, they are not just sharing words,
They're opening a door to their experience, their world, their thoughts, and their emotions. If you rush past their words, if you interrupt, or if you let your attention drift, you're telling them their words don't matter. You're telling them that what's on your mind is more important than what's in their heart. Real listening is not passive. It's a disciplined, focused, and intentional act. It requires humility. It requires patience. It requires presence. Most people don't give these things, and that's why most conversations feel shallow. To listen deeply is to give someone the space to reveal who they are. You can't do that if you're trying to prove a point or control the conversation. You can't do that if your ego is louder than their voice. You can't do that if you're distracted, bored, or impatient. True listening demands that you drop your agenda, that you slow down, that you turn your attention away from your own thoughts and tune fully into theirs. It's not easy, but it's one of the most powerful things you can ever do for another person. When someone feels truly understood, they relax, they open up, they begin to trust, they stop trying to defend themselves. And that's where honest communication begins. You can't force someone to be real with you, but you can create an atmosphere where it feels safe to be real. That atmosphere starts with how you listen. It starts with your eyes, your body language, your silence, and your stillness. It starts with your willingness to put your own thoughts aside and truly step into someone else's experience. That's not just a skill. That's a service. If you want to understand people's needs, you can't assume anything. You have to ask questions that come from genuine curiosity, not from judgment, not from a desire to fix or change them, just from the pure desire to know, to connect, to understand. And then you have to let them speak. You have to hold the space. You have to give them time. You have to accept that they may say things that are hard to hear or hard to believe. That's okay. Listening isn't about agreement. It's about understanding where someone is coming from. Only then can you respond in a way that is helpful and real. In every relationship, personal or professional, listening is what builds the bridge. Not words, not advice, not quick solutions, but attention. Full present attention. When you give someone your complete focus, you are telling them they matter, that their voice counts, that their experience is valid, and that one message can be more healing, more helpful, and more powerful than anything else you could say. That's how strong listening really is. It's not weak, it's not passive, it's powerful, it's rare, and it's life-changing. Listening deeply also helps you become wiser. When you listen without interrupting, you hear patterns. You notice what people really care about. You begin to understand their fears, dreams, and wounds. And with that understanding, you stop making assumptions. You stop taking things personally. You stop reacting to the surface, and you start responding to the deeper truth. That kind of response changes the quality of your communication. It makes you more effective, more compassionate, and more respected. People remember how you make them feel. If they feel dismissed, ignored, or misunderstood, they'll pull back. But if they feel heard, they'll lean in. They'll remember you as someone who took the time to really care. And that memory lasts longer than any clever thing you could say. If you want to lead, connect, influence, or support others, listening is your foundation. It's what earns you the right to speak into someone's life. You don't get that right by talking louder. You earn it by listening deeper. Listening deeply requires that you pay attention to what's not being said. Sometimes people can't find the right words. Sometimes they hold back. Sometimes their tone or body language tells you more than their sentences ever could. If you're truly listening, you'll pick up on these things. You'll hear the hesitation behind their voice. You'll see the fear behind their eyes. You'll feel the tension in their silence. These are not things that can be heard with your ears alone. They require your full presence, your full humanity. In conversations, don't rush to fill the silence. Don't jump in with advice the moment someone finishes a sentence. Let the silence breathe. Let the moment settle. Sometimes people find clarity, not because you solved their problem, but because you gave them the space to speak it out loud. The moment you take over the conversation, you rob them of that opportunity. Practice the discipline of waiting, of letting others finish fully before you begin to respond. It shows maturity. It shows respect. It shows leadership. When you listen, don't just listen for what you agree with. That's not listening. That's filtering. That's picking and choosing. Listen to the whole person. Listen for the why behind their words. Listen for what matters most to them, not what matters most to you. This helps you get out of your own head. It helps you grow beyond your limited perspective, and it allows you to build real, deep and lasting relationships. Because you're not just hearing words, you're connecting with people. The most effective communicators aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who listen the deepest. They know how to ask the right questions. They know when to stay quiet. They know how to hold space for others. They know that true leadership isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the one who listens when no one else does. If you want to become that person, start now. Start today. In your next conversation, listen with the intent to understand. Make that your only goal. Not to respond, not to impress, just to understand. This will take practice. You'll catch yourself interrupting. You'll notice moments when your mind drifts. You'll feel the urge to jump in with advice. That's normal. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. The goal is awareness. Every time you catch yourself drifting, bring yourself back. Every time you cut someone off, pause and let them finish. Every time you feel the urge to speak, ask yourself, am I responding from understanding or just reacting from habit? Listening is an act of self-control. It forces you to quiet your ego, to stop trying to win, to stop trying to fix, to stop trying to be right. Instead, you focus fully on someone else. You let them be the center. You let their voice take the space. This is not easy, but it's necessary if you want to grow. It's necessary if you want to have meaningful conversations. It's necessary if you want to become someone others trust and respect. You don't need special training to become a better listener. You need discipline. You need presence. You need to care enough to pause your own thoughts and give someone else the room to speak freely. When you do that, you become a mirror. You allow people to see themselves more clearly. You become someone people open up to, someone they turn to, someone they value, not because you always have the answers, but because you always make space for them to find their own. Listening deeply also helps you make better decisions. When you take time to hear all sides, to explore different perspectives, to ask real questions, you avoid rushing into poor conclusions. You develop patience. You begin to understand that wisdom comes from seeking, not assuming, that understanding takes time. That connection takes effort. That leadership takes more listening than speaking. If you want to stand out in today's noisy world, become someone who listens. If you want to build a strong team, become someone who listens. If you want to be a better partner, parent, friend, or leader, listen more. People don't need you to be perfect. They don't even need you to always agree with them, but they need to feel heard. They need to know you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, that you're really there, that you're really with them. That kind of presence is rare, and that's exactly why it's so valuable.
Give people the gift of your silence. Give them the gift of your attention. Give them the gift of being fully there. There is no stronger form of respect. There is no greater tool for understanding, and there is no deeper way to connect. So starting now, take this seriously. Make it your mission to listen more than you speak. Make it your practice to pause before you respond. Make it your standard to ask questions instead of making assumptions. Every conversation is an opportunity. Use it to grow. Use it to serve. Use it to understand. And if you do this, something amazing will happen. People will feel seen. They will feel respected. They will open up. They will trust you. And you will grow in wisdom, patience, and strength. You'll stop reacting and start responding. You'll stop judging and start understanding. You'll stop talking at people and start connecting with them. And that will change your relationships, your work, your reputation, and your life. Master the skill of deep listening. It will teach you more about people than any book ever could. It will open more doors than any speech ever will. And it will give you a kind of quiet strength that speaks louder than any words.
Chapter 3. Practice empathy to build meaningful, strong relationships. Empathy is not about feeling sorry for someone. It's not about agreeing with them either. It's the ability to step into another person's experience and feel what they feel without judgment or agenda. It is a quiet strength that deepens relationships, builds emotional safety, and creates real understanding. Empathy allows you to meet someone where they are without trying to pull them somewhere else. And in a world where everyone is rushing to be heard, empathy is what sets you apart. It's not flashy, it's not loud, and it's not easy. But it's powerful. And it's necessary if you want to create meaningful relationships that last. Most people don't truly practice empathy because they confuse it with sympathy or politeness. Sympathy says, "I feel bad for you." Politeness says, "I hope you feel better soon." Empathy says, "I'm here with you, and I'm not going anywhere." That difference changes everything. People don't want to be pitied. They want to be understood. They want to feel like someone gets it, even if that person hasn't lived the same experience. You don't need to have gone through the same thing to show empathy. You just need to be present, open, and willing to feel what someone else might be feeling without turning the focus back to yourself. Empathy is not passive. It's an active effort to stay with another person emotionally, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. It means resisting the urge to solve the problem immediately. It means sitting with their pain, their joy, their frustration, or their doubt without needing to change it. That takes discipline. That takes maturity. That takes presence. It requires you to hold back your own thoughts, opinions, and judgments, and instead make space for someone else's experience to be valid and real. The reason empathy builds strong relationships is because it shows people they're not alone. And when people feel supported, they trust more. They open up more. They become more honest. That's how real relationships grow, not through big words or perfect timing, but through small moments of genuine connection. When someone feels seen and accepted exactly as they are, they naturally feel closer to the person who gave them that space. You don't need to say much. You just need to be fully there. Practicing empathy starts with learning how to observe. Watch closely. Listen carefully. Pay attention to tone, timing, and tension. People don't always say what they feel. Sometimes their body language reveals more than their words. Sometimes silence says more than a sentence. You don't need to call it out. You just need to stay aware. You need to let your sensitivity guide your response. If someone seems off, check in. If someone avoids eye contact, ask gently, If someone pauses before answering, give them time. That attentiveness makes all the difference. When someone shares something with you, especially something painful, don't rush to fill the silence. Don't tell your own story. Don't give advice unless they ask. Just stay. Just listen. Just let them feel safe. That space you create by not interrupting, by not rushing, by not reacting, that's what people remember. That's what makes them trust you. And once that trust is there, the relationship becomes something much deeper than surface-level conversation. It becomes real. It becomes strong. It becomes meaningful. To be empathetic, you have to be aware of your own emotions. If you run from your feelings, you'll struggle to sit with someone else's. Empathy starts with emotional strength. That strength doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from facing your own honestly. When you can sit with your own sadness without distraction, you can do the same for someone else. When you can acknowledge your own flaws without shame, you can accept someone else's without judgment. Self-awareness is the foundation of true empathy. It makes your presence honest, clean, and trustworthy. You don't have to have all the answers to support someone. You don't have to be perfect or always know what to say. Sometimes a simple sentence like, "I can't imagine how hard that is," means more than a whole conversation. Sometimes a silent nod, steady eye contact, or just staying beside someone in their pain is more powerful than any solution. People remember how safe you made them feel. They remember who stayed when they were vulnerable. And that memory becomes the backbone of a real bond. Empathy also requires that you challenge your assumptions. Don't assume you know what someone is feeling just because you've experienced something similar. Ask questions that invite depth. Don't settle for surface-level answers. Don't guess. Stay curious. Stay humble. Say things like, "Help me understand what this feels like for you," or "What's been the hardest part?" These open-ended questions invite people to go deeper without feeling pressured. They create emotional permission, and when someone feels permitted to be real, they often are. Many people don't open up because they're used to being dismissed. They've been told to toughen up, to stop complaining, to move on. They've learned that being vulnerable is risky. So when someone finally makes space for their emotions without judgment, they feel relief. They feel seen. They let their guard down. And when that happens, connection grows fast. It becomes clear that you're not just someone they talk to, you're someone they trust. That's a rare thing. And it's worth building. Empathy is also about staying present in hard moments. When someone's emotions make you uncomfortable, don't escape. Stay with them. Stay calm. Stay grounded. If they cry, let them. If they're angry, let them release. Don't shut them down. Don't tell them how they should feel. Let their emotions be what they are. Let them pass through. Most people try to fix emotions too quickly because they're afraid. But emotions are not dangerous. What's dangerous is when people feel like they're not allowed to feel. That's when relationships start to break. Don't let that happen. Be the one who stays. You'll know you're practicing empathy when people start telling you things they've never shared before. When they feel comfortable being raw, unfiltered, and honest. That's the sign that they trust you, that they feel emotionally safe. And emotional safety is not just nice to have. It's essential. It's what allows real conversations to happen. It's what allows growth to happen. It's what turns casual interactions into deep bonds that last for years. Empathy is not a personality trait. It's a decision, a discipline, a skill. And like any skill, it improves with use. Start with one conversation a day. Focus fully. Listen actively. Ask real questions. Respond with kindness. Hold space and notice the shift. Notice how the tone changes when someone feels truly heard. Notice how the energy becomes calm, how the connection deepens. That's what empathy creates: peace, clarity, and trust. If you want stronger relationships, stop trying to be more interesting and start trying to be more interested. Be interested in how people feel. Be interested in what they care about. Be interested in what hurts them, what excites them, what makes them come alive. Don't just listen to respond. Listen to learn. Listen to understand. Listen like it matters, because it does. Your ability to build strong relationships depends on it. Empathy also means giving grace. When someone makes a mistake or says something out of character, pause before reacting. Consider what they might be going through. Consider that they might be hurting in ways you can't see. Empathy doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it does create room for understanding. And when people feel understood, they're more likely to grow, to change, and to take responsibility. One of the most powerful things you can do in any relationship is to say, "I see how that made you feel, and I understand why." That simple sentence validates the other person's experience. It doesn't mean you agree with every detail. It just means you respect their perspective. And respect is the soil where trust grows. Empathy can't be faked. People know when you're just going through the motions. They know when you're half listening. They know when your eyes are scanning the room instead of focused on them. That's why presence matters. That's why slowing down matters. Don't multitask emotions. Don't listen with one ear and check your phone with the other. Be fully there, even if it's just for 5 minutes. That full presence can do more to strengthen a relationship than hours of distracted talking. In your daily life, you'll have dozens of chances to practice empathy. Use them. When someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of getting angry, wonder what kind of day they're having. When your friend snaps at you, instead of taking it personally, wonder what's weighing on them. When someone disappoints you, instead of writing them off, ask what they might be struggling with. These shifts don't make you weak. They make you wise. They help you stay grounded. They help you stay kind. They help you stay connected to your values, even when it's hard. Being empathetic doesn't mean you become a doormat. It doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior or tolerate disrespect. It means you respond with understanding instead of reaction. It means you choose clarity over chaos, strength over spite, love over ego. That doesn't weaken your boundaries. It strengthens them, because now your boundaries are not built on anger. They're built on awareness. And that kind of awareness leads to much healthier relationships. Empathy also teaches you patience. When you really try to understand someone else, you slow down. You become less reactive. You stop needing to prove your point right away. You start choosing your words more carefully. You let go of the need to win every argument. That inner calm, that emotional steadiness, it's a result of empathy. It shows that you're no longer ruled by ego. You're ruled by purpose, by intention, by care. Over time, practicing empathy becomes a way of life. You start seeing people differently. You stop judging so quickly. You start looking beyond the surface. You develop a deeper sense of humanity. You begin to carry a quiet strength that others feel in your presence. That strength makes you a better partner, a better friend, a better leader, a better human being. And it all begins with one decision: to care enough to understand. Empathy will challenge you. It will stretch you. It will ask you to stay when you want to leave, to listen when you want to speak, to be kind when you want to be right. But it will also reward you.
with stronger connections, with deeper relationships, with a sense of peace that only comes when your presence brings healing to others. That's what empathy does. It doesn't just change the way you communicate, it changes the way you live. And once you begin living this way, everything around you starts to change too.
Chapter 4. Ask powerful questions that encourage deeper conversations. Most conversations never go beyond the surface. People ask questions they don't really care about, give answers they don't fully mean, and move on without ever forming a real connection. They stick to safe topics, recycled answers, and polite nods. The problem isn't just that people are distracted. The problem is that most don't know how to ask questions that open doors. They don't know how to guide a conversation toward truth, depth, or meaning. They ask to fill time, not to discover something real. But if you learn to ask powerful questions, the kind that go beneath the surface, you can change the entire direction of a moment. You can turn a short chat into something that matters. You can unlock honesty, trust, insight, and connection. Asking questions is one of the most underrated skills in communication. But the right question, asked at the right time, can change everything. It can reveal what someone is really thinking, what they're afraid to say, what they deeply care about. Most people carry things they never speak out loud. They feel like nobody wants to know what they're really going through. That's where your question becomes a bridge. Not every question is powerful. Most are lazy, shallow, or predictable. What do you do? How are you? How's the weather? These don't lead anywhere. They don't reveal who someone really is. A powerful question makes a person pause. It makes them think. It makes them feel something. It invites truth. It demands presence. To ask powerful questions, you must be fully present. You must pay attention to what is said and what isn't. You must listen with the intention to understand, not just to respond. Most people miss the deeper part of a conversation because they're already thinking of the next thing they want to say. But a great question doesn't come from your mind. It comes from your attention. When you're fully focused on someone, you begin to hear their hesitations, their gaps, their emotions. And in those moments, the right question appears. A question that doesn't just move the conversation forward, it opens it up. If you want to create deeper conversations, you have to be brave enough to go past small talk. Ask things that matter. Don't be afraid to ask what most people avoid. Don't shy away from emotion, from uncertainty, from silence. Ask what they believe. Ask what keeps them up at night. Ask what they're excited about, not just what they do for a living. Ask what they've learned recently. Ask what they've never said out loud. Ask what they wish people understood about them. These aren't questions that come from curiosity alone. They come from care. And care is what transforms a moment from casual to unforgettable. Powerful questions are not scripted. They are real, spontaneous, and rooted in presence. You can't just memorize a list and expect real conversations to follow. You have to feel your way through. You have to sense when someone wants to go deeper but doesn't know how. That's when your question becomes a light. Not to guide them anywhere specific, but to show them it's safe to open up. The way you ask matters. If your tone is sharp, if your body is tense, if your eyes are distant, even the best question will fall flat. But if you ask with gentleness, openness, and calm curiosity, people feel it. They feel seen, not judged. And that's when they begin to share. The most powerful questions don't just invite answers, they invite reflection. They make someone stop and consider something they've never explored. They give space for honesty, and honesty once spoken creates transformation. Think about it. Most people are moving through life on autopilot. They don't take time to ask themselves the hard questions. They don't pause to reflect. When you ask something meaningful, you interrupt that autopilot. You create a moment of awareness. That awareness can shift everything. You must also be willing to ask follow-up questions. Don't just accept the first answer and move on. Go further. Ask why. Ask how that makes them feel. Ask what that experience taught them. Ask what they would do differently now. Most people need permission to go deeper. Your follow-up question is that permission. It tells them you're not just being polite, you're being present. It tells them their experience matters, that their words are being heard, not just heard but felt. Learning how to ask better questions will also change how you see people. You'll begin to notice things you used to overlook. You'll become more sensitive to what people are really saying. You'll realize that even in the most ordinary conversation, there is always something real underneath. A concern, a dream, a memory, a struggle. When you train yourself to listen for those things, you'll never run out of things to ask. And you'll never again be stuck in a shallow exchange. Some of the strongest questions are the simplest. Not complicated, not clever, just honest. What does that mean to you? What's been the hardest part of this? What matters most to you right now? How do you want to feel 1 year from now? Who do you trust the most? What's one thing you're afraid to admit? These questions go beyond performance. They go beyond routine. They go into the heart. And that's where real relationships are built. If you stay at the surface, you stay a stranger. But if you go deep, you build something that lasts. When asking meaningful questions, let go of trying to control the direction of the conversation. Let it unfold naturally. Let people surprise you. Let their answers shape your response. Don't lead them to the answer you expect. Don't push for clarity too quickly. Be patient. Sometimes people need time to find the words. Sometimes they need space to feel safe enough to share. That's part of asking powerfully, allowing silence, giving people permission to think, to breathe, to feel. That silence is not empty. It's full of potential. Asking powerful questions is not just for deep conversations with close friends. It works in professional settings too. When you ask better questions in meetings, you show leadership. When you ask thoughtful questions at work, you build trust. When you ask your team what's holding them back, what support they need, or what they wish you knew, you create a culture of honesty. Leadership isn't just about giving direction. It's about creating space for others to speak. And that space begins with the questions you ask. In your personal life, the same principle applies. Ask your partner what's really on their mind, not just how their day was. Ask your child what made them smile today. Ask your friend what they're struggling with, but haven't told anyone. Ask your parents what they've learned about life that they wish they'd known earlier. These questions don't require perfect timing. They require courage. The courage to go beyond the usual. The courage to care more. The courage to lead with your heart, not just your voice. The way to make your questions more powerful is to remove judgment from your tone. Ask from a place of learning, not proving. People open up when they don't feel evaluated. They speak truthfully when they feel safe. Your role is not to fix. It's to be curious. It's to invite depth. It's to respect what they choose to share. And when they do share, don't rush to move on. Let the moment land. Let it mean something. Sometimes the most powerful question you can ask is also the simplest. How can I support you right now? That one question can shift the energy in any relationship. It shows that you're not just listening. You're ready to act with kindness. You're present enough to care about what comes next. And that kind of presence is more valuable than any advice you could ever give. The more you practice asking better questions, the more intuitive it becomes. You start to sense what someone needs without them having to say it. You feel where the conversation wants to go. You become someone who brings out honesty, clarity, and connection in every conversation. People feel more alive around you, more safe, more understood. Not because you say all the right things, but because you ask with depth and listen without distraction. Every person you meet carries stories they've never told, fears they've never voiced, and dreams they've never shared. Those things don't come out on their own. They need the right question. They need someone willing to care enough to ask. You can be that person. You don't need to be loud or impressive or perfect. You just need to ask real questions with a real heart. And if you make it your habit to ask deeper questions, you'll change not just how people relate to you, but how they see themselves. You'll give them the gift of self-awareness. You'll help them discover parts of themselves they've never explored. That's the power of a good question. It doesn't just unlock someone else. It helps them unlock their own truth. You have that ability. In every conversation, in every interaction, choose to ask more intentionally. Choose to listen more fully. Choose to go deeper. Let your questions carry weight. Let your presence hold space. Let your curiosity lead with kindness. And over time you'll build not just better conversations but stronger connections, lasting trust and relationships rooted in truth.
Chapter 5. Control emotions calmly when dealing with conflict situations. When tension rises and emotions run high, most people respond without thinking. They say things they regret. They react out of frustration, anger, or fear. They defend. They attack. They shut down. And in doing so, they make the conflict worse. They don't realize that how they handle that moment will shape their relationships, reputation, and self-respect. Every conflict is a test of emotional control, not controlling others, controlling yourself. Learning how to remain calm during conflict is not a weakness. It is strength in its purest form. It is the ability to respond with clarity when your mind wants to rage. It is the decision to act with wisdom when your emotions are begging for revenge. You are not responsible for how others treat you, but you are fully responsible for how you respond. Conflict doesn't expose other people's character, it reveals your own. When you are calm in the middle of chaos, you show maturity. You show that you are not owned by your mood. You show that you are centered, grounded, and composed. That presence can completely shift the energy of a situation. It can de-escalate arguments. It can create space for resolution. It can bring understanding where there was once only tension. But this kind of control is not automatic. It must be trained. It must be practiced. It must be chosen, again and again, especially when it's the hardest thing to do. The moment you feel triggered, pause. Do not react. Do not raise your voice. Do not let your pride take over. The pause is your first tool. In that small space between stimulus and response lies your power. That moment is your chance to take control of yourself before your emotions take control of you. You may feel disrespected. You may feel misunderstood. But feeling something does not mean you must act on it. Not every feeling needs an audience. Not every emotion deserves to lead. You can feel the heat of anger and still choose silence. You can feel frustration and still choose to breathe. That choice is strength, and that strength will earn you respect from others and from yourself. During conflict, ego wants to win. Ego wants to prove a point. Ego wants to dominate. But wisdom wants to solve. Wisdom wants to understand. Wisdom wants peace. Don't let ego speak for you.
Don't let it hijack your values. Don't let it burn bridges you'll wish you hadn't. One moment of uncontrolled emotion can do damage that takes years to repair. And sometimes, that damage can't be undone. That's why restraint matters. Not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. Focused on the bigger picture. Focused on what matters more than being right. Focused on preserving dignity, connection, and peace. When someone attacks you verbally or speaks with aggression, it's easy to mirror that energy. It's easy to fight fire with fire. But that never leads to real resolution. That leads to war. And in war, both sides lose something. If you stay calm while the other person loses control, you become the leader in the room. You become the one with influence. Because people always remember how you handled the hard moments. They remember whether you stayed composed or fell apart. And your behavior becomes a signal, a message, a reflection of your self-control. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. It means being aware of them without letting them dominate your actions. It means noticing when anger is rising and choosing not to let it speak for you. It means recognizing when your pride wants to lash out and choosing humility instead. This kind of control comes from training, from discipline, from reflection. It comes from making a decision ahead of time about the kind of person you want to be, especially when things get tough. Conflicts are not just challenges. They are opportunities. They are opportunities to grow stronger, to understand yourself better, to develop patience, to build clarity. Every time you handle a conflict with calm strength, you strengthen your character. You become more trustworthy. You become more resilient. You become someone who can be relied on in high-pressure situations. And in a world full of emotional chaos, that kind of steadiness is rare. That kind of presence is powerful. When emotions rise, bring your attention to your breath. Your breath is your anchor. It brings you back into your body. It slows your thoughts. It softens your energy. When you breathe slowly and deeply, your nervous system begins to calm down. And from that calm, you can think clearly. You can speak carefully. You can choose your words instead of letting your emotions choose them for you. Even just a few steady breaths can make the difference between saying something constructive and saying something destructive. It's also important to listen during conflict. Not just to the words, but to what's underneath them. Sometimes people say harsh things not because they mean them, but because they feel unheard, hurt, or scared. If you listen with patience, you'll begin to see the truth behind the reaction. You'll hear the pain behind the anger. You'll understand that their emotional outburst has more to do with what they're carrying inside than with you. And that understanding helps you stay calm. It helps you stay kind, even when it's difficult. Kindness is not weakness. In conflict, it is courage. It is clarity. It is a choice. You won't always get it right. You will have moments where you lose your temper, where you speak too quickly, where you let the heat of emotion take over. That's human. But what matters is that you notice it, that you learn from it, that you make a decision to do better next time. Growth is not about perfection. It's about awareness, about taking responsibility for how you show up, about deciding again and again that you will not let the worst moments bring out the worst in you. Conflict is part of life. You cannot avoid it, but you can choose how you meet it. You can meet it with fire or with focus, with reaction or with response, with pride or with purpose. The choice is yours, and that choice, repeated consistently, becomes your reputation. It becomes your legacy. It becomes the standard by which you live. People respect those who remain calm under pressure. They trust those who respond instead of react. They remember those who didn't make the situation worse when they could have. Your ability to control your emotions in conflict isn't just about managing that moment. It's about creating a culture around you, a culture of respect, a culture of maturity, a culture of emotional intelligence. And that culture begins with you. In any difficult conversation, remember your goal. Your goal is not to win. Your goal is to resolve, to restore, to move forward with clarity. Sometimes that means standing firm. Sometimes that means stepping back. Sometimes it means apologizing. Sometimes it means walking away with peace. But in all cases, it means keeping your dignity, keeping your discipline, keeping your center. Use your voice, but use it wisely. Speak truth, but speak it with calm strength. Don't raise your voice, raise your presence. Don't escalate the tension, deepen your understanding. Don't mirror their chaos, model your clarity. That's what true control looks like. It's not about suppressing how you feel. It's about channeling it into something constructive, something strong, something that reflects the best of who you are. The ability to stay calm in conflict will protect your peace. It will strengthen your relationships. It will make you someone others look to in times of crisis. And it will give you the inner power to handle life's challenges without being broken by them. Emotional control is not something you're born with. It's something you develop, and every conflict is a chance to get better at it. Don't waste those chances. Use them. Grow from them. Build something stronger in yourself every time. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Calm becomes your default. Clarity becomes your habit. Strength becomes your character. And one day, without even thinking about it, you'll notice that the same situations that once triggered you no longer have the same hold. You've grown, you've matured, you've changed, and that change will be felt by everyone around you. There is nothing more powerful than being fully in control of yourself in the heat of the moment. That control is not force. It is not coldness. It is calm confidence. It is steady strength. It is the quiet power of someone who knows who they are and refuses to let a temporary emotion ruin something valuable. That is who you must become. That is who you can become. Start now. Start in the next conversation, in the next disagreement, in the next moment where your patience is tested. Breathe, choose, respond, and walk away proud of how you handled it. That's real power. That's real growth. That's what it means to live with emotional discipline.
Chapter 6. Express your thoughts simply for immediate understanding. Complex language often creates confusion. Complicated explanations push people away. When your words are filled with layers of unnecessary detail or abstract phrases, others stop listening. They may smile and nod, but they don't really understand. That gap between what you mean and what they hear creates problems. Misunderstandings build up. Frustration grows. Trust weakens. Communication breaks down. It doesn't matter how smart you are if people can't follow what you're saying. True intelligence shows itself through simplicity. The ability to explain something clearly and directly reflects a mind that has taken the time to understand. The more clearly you think, the more simply you speak. People respect clarity. When you express your thoughts in a simple way, others feel comfortable. They're not left trying to figure out what you meant. They don't have to guess. They don't feel lost or unsure. They get it, and because they get it, they stay with you. They stay connected. They engage more. They ask questions. They respond openly. That's when communication becomes meaningful. That's when your message starts to matter. Most people speak to sound impressive. They want to be seen as knowledgeable or sophisticated, so they use words they don't need. They pack their sentences with extra details that only confuse the message.
They don't realize that real impact doesn't come from complexity. It comes from precision. Simplicity is not about dumbing things down. It's about getting to the heart of what you're trying to say. It's about cutting through the noise. It's about giving people the gift of understanding. To express your thoughts simply, you need to slow down. Before you speak, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself, what am I really trying to say? What's the point? What do I want this person to take away from what I'm about to share? If you can't answer that clearly in your own mind, your words will be scattered. But when you know the core of your message, you can remove everything that distracts from it. You can strip away the fluff. You can speak in a way that lands immediately. It's not just about choosing fewer words. It's about choosing better words. Words that match the situation. Words that feel natural to the people you're speaking to. Don't try to sound like someone you're not. Speak in your own voice, but with clarity and direction. If your goal is to connect, not to impress, people will feel that. They'll lean in. They'll listen more closely. Because now you're speaking to be understood, not just to be heard. In everyday conversations, simplicity creates trust. When people know you're not trying to confuse or overwhelm them, they relax. They stop trying to read between the lines. They feel safe to ask questions. They feel comfortable being honest. That comfort turns into confidence. They begin to believe in your words because your words feel clean and true. You don't need to say everything. You just need to say what matters, in a way that's easy to follow. Being direct is not the same as being harsh. You can express something simply and still be respectful. You can be honest without being cold. Simplicity and kindness work well together. When you say what needs to be said in a clear, calm tone, people appreciate it. They don't have to wonder about your intention. They don't feel like they're being manipulated. They can hear you, and they can respond with clarity too. That creates better conversations. That builds stronger relationships. If you want to express yourself more simply, practice summarizing. After a conversation, ask yourself what the core message was. Could you repeat it in one sentence? Could someone else explain what you meant without confusion? If not, go back and review where things got lost. Simplicity takes effort. It's not something that just happens. It comes from learning how to refine your thoughts, from removing what's unnecessary, from focusing on the essence. You don't need to speak quickly. You don't need to fill every pause. In fact, silence can help your words settle. When you speak slowly and give space between thoughts, people have time to absorb what you're saying. They don't feel overwhelmed. They can reflect. They can respond with care. That rhythm creates depth in your communication. It shows that you're not in a rush. It shows that you value the conversation. It shows that you respect their attention. Writing can also help you improve the way you speak. When you write, you're forced to organize your thoughts. You begin to notice which parts are unclear. You see which sentences are too long, too vague, or too complex. The more you practice simplifying your written words, the easier it becomes to simplify your spoken words. You begin to think in terms of clarity. You begin to express in a way that moves people instead of confusing them. Avoid filler language. Phrases like "to be honest," "you know what I mean," or "at the end of the day" often distract more than they help. They add noise. They create distance from your main point. Instead, say what you mean and move forward. Let your words carry weight. Let your message come through without distraction. It's not about being robotic. It's about being intentional. It's about making your words count. If someone doesn't understand you, don't blame them. Take responsibility. Ask yourself how you can say it differently. Find a new way to explain. Try another angle. Simplify again. Don't get frustrated. Get better. Every time you make your point clearer, you grow. You develop a skill that few take the time to master. And that skill will set you apart in every area of life. At work, in your relationships, in your leadership, in your personal growth. People don't remember every word you say. They remember how clear your message was. They remember how they felt after talking to you. They remember whether your words helped or confused them. You have the ability to make every conversation more meaningful just by being more clear. You don't need fancy language. You need real language. Honest words, direct thoughts, clean communication. In moments of tension, simplicity becomes even more important. When emotions are high, long explanations or complicated reasoning only create more pressure. Keep it simple. Say what you feel. Say what you need. Say it calmly, clearly, and with respect. Don't over-explain. Don't try to convince. Just speak truthfully and plainly. That's often enough to bring clarity where there was once confusion. Practice being brief. Practice being clear. Practice being kind. These three together are rare. Most people can do one, maybe two. Few can do all three. But when you do, you become a communicator that people respect and trust. You become someone whose words carry weight. Not because they are long or elaborate, but because they are true and clear. Expressing yourself simply also gives you confidence. When you know you can get your point across without confusion, you stop second-guessing yourself. You stop talking in circles. You stop looking for approval. You speak with calm strength. You speak from a place of focus. That confidence is not loud, it's steady. And it shows in the way people listen to you, in the way they respond, in the way they follow your lead. You don't have to solve everything in one conversation. You don't have to explain your entire history. Just speak to the moment. Speak to the need. Speak to the truth that matters most right now. Simplicity is powerful because it brings attention to what matters. It removes distractions. It brings people together instead of pushing them apart. If you want to get better at this, listen to people who do it well. Pay attention to those who speak with clarity. Notice how they phrase things. Notice how they pause. Notice how they choose words that fit. You'll begin to absorb that style. You'll start to see where you can improve. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Your ability to express yourself simply is not just a communication skill. It is a reflection of your self-awareness. It shows how well you understand your own thoughts. It shows how much you respect the listener's time and attention. It shows your intention to connect, rather than to impress. That mindset will shape every conversation you have. Make it your goal to be clear, not clever. To be heard, not admired. To be understood, not praised. In doing so, you will find that people begin to listen more closely. They begin to ask more from you. They begin to see you as someone they can trust, and that trust will open doors that complicated words never could. Speak with purpose, say what matters. Remove the noise, and watch how much more effective, honest, and powerful your communication becomes. This is not about perfection. It's about clarity. It's about connection. It's about having the discipline to speak in a way that brings light, not confusion. The clearer you speak, the more people understand. The more they understand, the more they trust. And the more they trust, the more impact you have. Start now. Keep it simple. Keep it strong. Keep it real. That's where great communication lives.
Chapter 7. Master your body language for powerful, lasting impressions. Before you speak, your body has already said something.
Before you open your mouth, people are already forming opinions about who you are. Whether you're aware of it or not, your body is constantly communicating. Your posture, your gestures, your facial expressions, your eye contact, your tone, all of it tells a story. And in many cases, that story carries more weight than your actual words. You can have the best message in the world, but if your body says otherwise, people will believe the body, not the message. That's why mastering your body language is not about being fake or calculated. It's about aligning your external presence with your inner truth. It's about being fully conscious of how you carry yourself in every situation. People respond to energy. They notice if you walk into a room with confidence or with hesitation. They can feel whether you're secure in yourself or trying to hide. You don't have to say a single word for someone to decide whether they trust you, respect you, or feel drawn to you. That decision is shaped by what you do with your body. And that's exactly why this matters. You don't need to be loud to make an impact. You don't need to be flashy to leave an impression. You need to be intentional. You need to carry yourself like someone who believes in what they say. You need to show up physically with the same clarity and strength that you aim to express verbally. Posture is the foundation. If your shoulders are slumped, your head is down, or your movements are small and guarded, people will sense uncertainty. You may not feel afraid, but your body will send a message of self-doubt. And that message weakens your presence. It weakens your credibility. Stand tall, keep your shoulders relaxed and open. Let your hands move naturally, not stiffly. Keep your chin level. Make eye contact without staring. These small adjustments make a massive difference. They show that you're here, that you're steady, that you're connected. Awareness is everything. Most people don't notice what they're doing with their body until someone points it out. But the truth is, your body language is always sending a signal. You cross your arms when you're uncomfortable. You avoid eye contact when you feel unsure. You fidget when your mind is restless. These behaviors are not random. They come from patterns. They come from how you've learned to respond to pressure, attention, and emotion. And once you start observing those patterns, you gain the power to change them. You begin to make choices instead of running on habit. Eye contact is one of the most powerful tools in human interaction. It shows presence. It shows confidence. It shows interest. When you look someone in the eyes while speaking, you're saying, "I see you. I'm with you. I believe in what I'm saying." But eye contact must be balanced. Too little, and you seem distant. Too much, and it feels aggressive. The key is to be relaxed. Hold eye contact for a few seconds, then break it naturally. Let your eyes move with the rhythm of the conversation. Be warm, not cold. Be real, not robotic. Facial expression adds emotion to your words. If your face is flat or tense, it sends mixed signals. People listen with their eyes as much as with their ears. Let your face reflect your message. If you're sharing something exciting, let your eyes light up. If you're being serious, let that seriousness show calmly and clearly. You don't need to exaggerate. Just be expressive in a natural way. When your face matches your tone, your words carry more truth. They land deeper. They leave an impression that lasts. Your hands are tools of expression. Don't hide them. Don't shove them in your pockets or fold them tightly across your chest. Let them move freely. Let them support what you're saying. When your hands move with purpose, not randomly, they help clarify your message. They add rhythm. They emphasize key points. They make your presence feel alive. The goal isn't to wave or perform. It's to allow your body to speak the same language as your voice. Movement is another part of body language that shapes your presence. If you shift constantly, pace without purpose or rock side to side, it shows nervous energy. But if you move with intention, even small steps, you appear composed. The way you enter a room matters. The way you sit down matters. The way you stand when speaking matters. These things speak loudly, even if no one points them out. They create an atmosphere around you. They either draw people in or push them away. One of the biggest mistakes people make with body language is trying too hard to impress. They exaggerate their gestures. They force smiles. They adopt power poses they read about online but don't feel natural doing. And it comes across as fake. The key to strong body language is authenticity. You don't have to become someone else. You have to become more of yourself, more aware, more present, more intentional. When your physical presence is aligned with your inner confidence, people feel it instantly. They don't need to be told. They can see it. They can feel it. To master body language, you must train self-awareness. This means regularly checking in with yourself. How are you standing right now? How are you breathing? What is your face doing while you listen? Are your arms open or closed? Are your gestures stiff or fluid? These questions are not meant to make you self-conscious. They are meant to wake you up. Because most people move through life on autopilot. They don't realize their posture is sending the wrong message. They don't realize their closed-off stance is pushing people away. But once you become aware, you can begin to choose how you show up. Watching yourself on video is one of the most effective ways to understand your body language. Record a short conversation, then watch it back. Not to criticize but to observe. Notice your tone. Notice your expressions. Notice how your movements support or distract from your message. You'll see things you never knew were there. You'll begin to correct without force. You'll begin to improve just by paying attention. Self-awareness leads to growth. Growth leads to confidence. Confidence leads to powerful presence. It's also helpful to watch others who communicate well. Observe speakers who command attention. Notice how they use their body. Notice what makes them believable. Notice how they carry themselves, how they move, how they pause. Then experiment. Try using those patterns in your own way. Not to copy, but to learn. Over time you'll develop your own style. A style that feels honest, strong, and aligned with who you are. Mastering body language isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about showing people through your presence that you believe in your message, that you are grounded, clear, and trustworthy. You can't fake that. You have to build it. You build it by practicing, by reflecting, by showing up every day with awareness and care. Every time you walk into a room, you're communicating. Every time you speak, your body is speaking too. Make that voice count. Make it clear. Make it match the person you want to be. When your body language is aligned with your values, your words hit harder. They carry more weight. They create more connection. They leave a mark. You won't get it perfect every time. You don't have to. What matters is that you stay conscious, that you continue to improve, that you keep choosing presence over performance. Every room you walk into is an opportunity. Every conversation is a chance to lead. Not through dominance but through energy. Not through control but through awareness. Powerful body language is not about making people like you. It's about showing up with self-respect. It's about making yourself proud. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need approval to feel whole. Someone who stands tall even when no one's watching. Someone who leads through presence, not noise. That kind of presence lasts. People remember it. They trust it. They want to be around it. And you can build it, step by step, breath by breath, choice by choice. Let your posture reflect your purpose. Let your eyes reflect your focus. Let your gestures reflect your clarity. And let your presence speak even before your first word is heard. That's how you master your body language. That's how you leave an impression that never fades.
Chapter 8. Improve daily by practicing honest, open communication. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. It happens through conscious effort, through consistent practice, and through choosing the harder path when it matters most. One of the most powerful ways to grow every single day is to practice honest, open communication. This doesn't mean saying everything that comes to your mind. It doesn't mean speaking without thought or filter. It means making a deliberate decision to show up truthfully in your interactions, to speak with clarity, to listen with humility, and to engage with sincerity. When you do this consistently, you begin to experience something rare: alignment between who you are, what you say, and how others experience you. That alignment builds trust. It builds character. It builds your life. Most people hide behind half-truths and surface-level talk because it feels safer. They avoid difficult conversations. They sugarcoat what they really think. They fear judgment, rejection, or conflict. But all that fear only creates more distance. It disconnects them from others and from themselves. When you stop being honest, you start feeling alone, even in a room full of people. Real connection can't happen without truth. You can't build deep relationships by pretending. You can't grow by avoiding what's real. The more you water down your message, the more you weaken your own identity. And over time, that habit creates confusion, not just for others, but within yourself. To practice honest, open communication daily, you must be clear with your own thoughts first. If you don't know what you believe, what you need, or what you feel, it becomes impossible to share that with others. That's why self-awareness is the starting point. Take time every day to check in with yourself. Ask what's true for you right now. Ask what you've been avoiding. Ask where you've been silent when you should have spoken. Ask where you've been speaking from fear rather than from clarity. These are not comfortable questions, but they reveal what's real, and truth is where progress begins. When you speak with honesty, your words carry weight, not because they are louder or longer, but because they come from a place of integrity. People can feel that. They can sense when you mean what you say. That kind of communication earns respect, not just from others, but from yourself. Every time you express something clearly and truthfully, even when it's hard, you build confidence. You prove to yourself that you're willing to face discomfort instead of hiding behind silence or convenience. Open communication also requires that you create space for others to speak freely. You don't get to be the only one speaking your truth. You must also listen without interruption, without judgment, without the need to correct. That kind of listening creates an atmosphere where honesty can breathe. If people feel like they have to walk on eggshells around you, they will protect themselves instead of opening up. But when they know they can speak freely and be heard fully, they stop performing. They stop pretending. They start showing up. And in that space, real understanding is built. Every day presents small opportunities to practice this. You might notice something that needs to be said. Say it with calm and care. You might feel misunderstood. Don't hold resentment. Clarify. You might disagree with someone. Don't fake agreement. Share your view with respect. These moments may seem small, but they shape how you grow. They build the muscle of courage. They teach you how to hold tension without avoiding it. They train you to communicate clearly even when emotions are involved, and over time, those small actions lead to massive transformation. Avoiding conflict doesn't protect peace. It delays truth.
Real peace comes after real conversation. It comes after clarity is spoken. It comes after honesty is shared. When you make openness your daily standard, conflict doesn't scare you anymore. You stop seeing it as a threat and start seeing it as a doorway to better understanding, a doorway to stronger relationships, a doorway to emotional maturity. Growth is not about avoiding hard moments. It's about learning how to move through them with strength and grace. And open communication is the path through. There will be moments when you're tempted to stay quiet, when your fear tells you that speaking honestly will cost you something. Maybe comfort, maybe approval, maybe control. But if you choose silence when honesty is needed, you sacrifice something greater, your integrity. You weaken your own voice. You train yourself to retreat instead of rise. And that habit creates inattention. It keeps you stuck. It disconnects you from your own strength. But when you speak the truth gently, with presence and care, you don't lose power, you gain it. Honest communication doesn't mean being blunt or careless. It doesn't mean saying everything on your mind without discernment. It means choosing your words carefully and delivering them with clarity and kindness. It means removing the mask without causing harm. It means being real without being reckless. This balance takes maturity. It takes patience. It takes practice. But once you develop it, your conversations change. They become more meaningful, more effective, more alive. Open communication also means being vulnerable. It means admitting when you're unsure. It means asking for help when you need it. It means saying, "I don't know," without shame. That kind of honesty is not weakness. It is emotional courage. It shows that you're strong enough to be real. It shows that you're grounded enough to handle discomfort. And that kind of presence builds safety. When people see that you're willing to be vulnerable, they feel safe being themselves too. That mutual honesty is where trust grows fastest. If you want to improve daily, use each interaction as practice. Speak clearly, even when you feel nervous. Ask questions when something is unclear. Clarify your intentions so they're not misunderstood. Check in with others, not to control the outcome, but to ensure alignment. These small efforts compound. They refine your skills. They increase your emotional intelligence. They help you understand people faster, handle tension better, and lead with greater wisdom. Sometimes the hardest person to be honest with is yourself. You pretend things are okay when they're not. You avoid your own thoughts because they're uncomfortable. You distract yourself instead of addressing what needs attention. But honesty begins there, in those quiet moments when you choose to face what's real. You ask yourself why you reacted the way you did, why you stayed silent, why you avoided that conversation. And instead of judging yourself, you learn, you observe, you grow, and then you do better next time. This cycle is how you evolve. Not all at once, but through daily reflection and small adjustments. There will be days when honesty feels like a burden, when you'd rather retreat than face the emotional effort of a real conversation. That's normal, but those are the exact moments when you must rise, when you must lean into discomfort, when you must remind yourself that avoiding the truth never brings peace. Only facing it does. And when you do, even if it's messy, even if it's awkward, even if it's not perfect, you feel lighter. Because now you're no longer hiding. You're no longer carrying weight that doesn't belong to you. You're living aligned with your values. Open communication also means taking responsibility. It means owning your words. It means apologizing when you speak carelessly. It means acknowledging when your tone didn't match your message. This accountability is not about guilt. It's about growth. It shows you're willing to repair what needs repairing. It shows you value truth over pride. That humility strengthens relationships. It turns mistakes into opportunities. It makes others feel safe to do the same. One of the greatest gifts you can give someone is your full honesty wrapped in compassion. A truth shared without judgment. A message delivered with care. A conversation that leaves them feeling seen, not attacked. That kind of communication heals. It uplifts. It creates real transformation. And you don't need a special occasion to offer it. You can do it today, right now, with someone in your life who deserves clarity. Someone who needs to hear your truth. Someone who is waiting for the honesty you've been holding back. Don't underestimate the power of daily effort. One honest sentence can improve your life more than hours of silent overthinking. One clear conversation can solve a problem that's been lingering for weeks. One open moment can restore trust that's been fading. You don't need to change everything at once. Just practice showing up with truth. One sentence, one moment, one day at a time. Make this a daily standard to speak truthfully, to listen openly, and to communicate clearly, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because those are the moments that build you. Those are the moments that shape your future. Those are the moments that define your character. And when you keep choosing truth, over time, you become someone whose words matter. Not because they're loud, not because they're clever, but because they're real, because they're trusted, because they come from a place of strength. Let every conversation be a chance to practice. Let every word reflect your values. Let every interaction leave behind clarity, not confusion. And as you do this daily, you will not only become a better communicator, you will become a stronger human being. One who lives with integrity, one who leads with wisdom, one who chooses growth over comfort. That is the real reward of honest, open communication. It's not just about how others receive you. It's about how deeply you begin to respect yourself.
Chapter 9. Create trust quickly by keeping your promises daily. Trust doesn't take years to build. It takes consistency. It takes daily actions that show people who you are. It takes doing what you said you would do, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one is watching, even when it would be easier to break your word. Promises are not just commitments you make to others. They are reflections of your integrity. They are signals of your character. And when you keep those promises every day, trust builds fast. People don't trust what you say until they see what you do. And when what you do matches your words again and again, people begin to believe in you, rely on you, and respect you without hesitation. The fastest way to destroy trust is to say one thing and do another. It only takes one broken promise to make someone question everything else you've said. That's why discipline matters. That's why your follow-through speaks louder than any intention. If you want people to trust you quickly, show them that your word means something. Show them through your daily choices that you are dependable, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Trust doesn't grow through big moments. It grows through small ones. The simple things, being on time, responding when you said you would, finishing what you started, showing up prepared. These are the foundations of real trust. Every time you follow through, you're sending a message. You're telling the world that you're stable, that you're serious, that you're not driven by mood or excuses. You're proving that your intentions are not just ideas, they're commitments backed by action. That kind of consistency becomes your reputation. It becomes your identity. And people begin to see you as someone who is reliable, someone who doesn't just talk, someone who actually delivers.
Keeping promises also builds self-trust. When you tell yourself you're going to do something and you actually do it, you start to believe in yourself at a deeper level. You don't need external motivation or validation because your own actions create momentum. Every kept promise becomes evidence. It tells your mind that you are capable, that you can be counted on, that your word to yourself is sacred. This inner trust is powerful. It gives you clarity. It gives you confidence. It gives you control over your own life. And the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. People often make big promises they can't keep. They say yes too quickly. They overcommit. They try to impress others with good intentions, but forget that intentions alone don't create trust. Only follow-through does. It's better to make fewer promises and keep every one than to promise too much and deliver little. When you speak, let your words carry weight. Let them mean something. Don't make promises casually. Don't say things just to please others. Speak with intention, and then honor that intention with your actions. If you tell someone you'll be there, be there. If you say you'll finish the work, finish it. If you commit to a plan, follow through without needing reminders. These actions may seem small, but they are noticed. They create a sense of safety. People begin to feel they can count on you. And that feeling builds relationships that are strong, healthy, and lasting. Trust doesn't come from one impressive gesture. It comes from a series of consistent steps. Daily reliability, daily honesty, daily effort. There will be moments when keeping a promise feels like a burden. When you're tired, distracted, or tempted to justify why it's okay to delay. Those are the moments that define you. That's when integrity is tested. That's when you show whether your word is tied to your mood or anchored in your values. When you push through resistance to honor your commitment, you don't just earn trust, you earn strength. You build a deeper version of yourself, one that isn't easily swayed, one that doesn't crumble under pressure. Keeping promises doesn't mean overextending yourself. It doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means being thoughtful about what you agree to, and then being disciplined enough to follow through. It means being honest with yourself and others about what you can realistically do. It means being selective with your commitments so that each one is honored with full integrity. When your actions match your words every day, trust becomes automatic. You don't have to demand it. You don't have to convince anyone. People will see it in how you live. Start by keeping the promises you make to yourself. Wake up when you said you would. Complete the task you planned for the day. Follow the habits you committed to building. These daily wins are small, but they shape who you become. And when you keep your own promises, it becomes easier to keep the ones you make to others. You stop living in conflict with yourself. You stop making excuses. You start building a rhythm of responsibility. That rhythm creates momentum. That momentum creates transformation. In every relationship, professional or personal, trust is the glue. And trust is built through consistent behavior. If someone sees that you show up on time every day, that you meet your deadlines without being chased, that you remember the things you said you would do, they begin to relax. They stop worrying. They start leaning on you. That's the power of reliability. It creates peace in the lives of others. It makes you someone they can count on. Someone who brings stability instead of stress. When you break a promise, even unintentionally, address it quickly. Don't hide. Don't make excuses. Own it. Apologize. Repair it. A broken promise doesn't have to be the end. What matters is how you respond. If you take full responsibility, if you make it right, if you show that it won't become a pattern, trust can still grow. People don't expect perfection. They expect effort. They expect honesty. They expect accountability. Give them that, and you earn respect that goes beyond words. Your ability to build trust quickly will shape every area of your life. In leadership, it determines how people follow you. In friendships, it decides how deeply people confide in you. In business, it affects whether others want to work with you. And in your relationship with yourself, it defines whether you feel proud of the life you're building. Every day, you have dozens of chances to either build trust or break it. Through the way you speak, act, show up and follow through. Those chances are not small. They are everything. If you say you'll call someone, do it. If you commit to a project, give it your best. If you make a promise, let it become a priority. These actions create clarity. They remove doubt. They build a foundation others can stand on. People don't trust words. They trust patterns. And when your pattern is one of reliability, trust follows naturally. Keeping your promises also strengthens your emotional discipline. It teaches you how to move, even when you don't feel like it. It trains you to lead your life, instead of waiting for motivation. When you decide that your word matters more than your comfort, you begin to take control of your time, your energy, and your direction. That control builds inner peace. You stop feeling scattered. You stop chasing approval. You start living with integrity, and that integrity gives you power. If you want to improve your life fast, improve your reliability. Let your commitments be few but strong. Let your actions be louder than your explanations. Let your consistency speak for you. Every day, you get the chance to prove yourself, not by trying to impress people, but by showing up, by delivering, by being the person who does what they said they would do. That is rare, that is valuable, and that is within your control. Don't wait to become perfect, to start keeping promises. Start now. Start with the next one. Let that be the first brick. Then keep building. Each promise kept is a brick in the foundation of who you are. And soon you'll look around and realize that people trust you, that they rely on you, that they speak highly of you. Not because you're flashy or loud, but because you're solid, you're stable, you're real. Make it a daily practice. Each day, ask yourself, what did I commit to today? What needs to be done so that my word means something? What small action will build trust today? These questions sharpen your focus. They keep you anchored. They remind you that every action matters, that every promise is a reflection, that every choice is a chance to build something lasting. Live in such a way that people don't have to wonder whether you'll come through. Let your consistency answer that question. Let your actions earn the trust that no title or status ever could. This is how you build trust quickly. Not through grand speeches or empty declarations, but through small daily promises honored with full integrity. Let that be who you are. Let that be your standard. Let that be your legacy.
Chapter 10. Handle criticism constructively, without taking it personally. Criticism can feel sharp. It can feel personal, even when it's not meant to be. It can stir something inside you that wants to defend, explain, reject, or shut down. That's natural. You're human. You care about how you're perceived. You care about the effort you put in. You care about your reputation, your ideas, and your worth. So when someone questions it, even slightly, it can hit something deep. But if you want to grow, you have to learn to face criticism without letting it define you. You have to separate your identity from the feedback you receive.
You are not every opinion someone has of you. And handling criticism constructively begins with that truth. Not all criticism is fair. Some comes from jealousy, some from misunderstanding, some from people projecting their own issues onto you. You don't have to accept every word that comes your way, but you also don't have to take it personally. The key is learning how to evaluate feedback without letting it damage your self-worth. When you hear something hard to digest, pause. Don't react. Don't fight back. Don't retreat into self-doubt. Instead, ask yourself one simple question: what part of this can help me grow? Even if the tone is wrong, even if the words sting, even if the person delivering it isn't kind, look for the value hidden inside the discomfort. Growth requires feedback, and feedback is not always going to be delivered gently. But your strength is shown not in how you respond when someone praises you, but in how you handle the moment when someone challenges you. That's when your maturity is tested. That's when your character is shaped. If you become defensive every time you're corrected, you lose the opportunity to improve. If you take every critique as an attack, you stay stuck in your current mindset. But if you learn to extract insight from discomfort, you evolve faster than most people ever will. One way to handle criticism constructively is to remind yourself that your value doesn't rise or fall based on someone's opinion. Their words may highlight a mistake, they may question a choice, they may push back on an idea, but none of that takes away your worth. Feedback is not a verdict on who you are. It's just information, and information, when processed with discipline, can make you sharper, wiser, and stronger. When you start to see criticism as something that helps rather than hurts, your entire mindset changes. You stop fearing it. You start using it. Criticism often feels personal because it touches on something sensitive. Maybe it exposes a weakness you're already aware of. Maybe it reminds you of a past failure. Maybe it confirms a fear you haven't faced. That's why it stings. Not because the person is trying to hurt you, but because it hits a part of you that isn't healed yet. Instead of avoiding that discomfort, use it. Ask what it's trying to show you. Ask what insecurity is being activated. Ask how you can address that part of yourself with honesty and growth, instead of defense and denial. The moment you stop avoiding criticism and start welcoming it, you become powerful. Not because you enjoy discomfort, but because you no longer fear it. You no longer let it control you. You use it to sharpen your skills, refine your thoughts, and build emotional resilience. And people notice that. They notice when someone can take feedback with grace. They notice when someone can listen without collapsing. That kind of emotional strength stands out. It earns respect. It builds influence. It shows leadership. Not everyone who criticizes you is trying to help. Some are trying to project their frustration. Some are trying to feel superior. Some are just reacting without thinking. But even then, there is something to learn. You can learn how to stay calm under pressure. You can learn how to communicate clearly in the face of misunderstanding. You can learn how to lead a conversation back to clarity. Even unfair criticism can be a teacher if you're willing to stay open. One powerful way to take the sting out of criticism is to get curious. Instead of shutting down, ask questions. Not in a defensive way, but in a calm and thoughtful tone. Ask what they meant. Ask what they noticed. Ask how you can improve. This shows you're willing to grow. It invites honesty. It keeps the conversation constructive, and it helps you see things you may have missed. You don't have to agree with everything, but you should be willing to explore it, because every conversation holds the potential to make you better, if you keep your mind and heart open. When criticism comes from someone you respect, listen even more carefully. Don't rush to justify. Don't explain it away. Let it sit. Let it sink in. Give yourself space to process. You don't have to respond right away. You don't have to have the perfect answer. Just reflect. And if you find truth in their words, thank them. Let them know you value their perspective. This kind of humility builds strong relationships. It shows that you're not led by ego. It shows that you're committed to growth. Sometimes, criticism will come when you least expect it. In the middle of a good day, in the midst of a moment you felt proud of, and it will try to shake your confidence. Don't let it. Remind yourself that feedback is about refinement, not rejection, that it's meant to make you stronger, not smaller, and that no one's words have the power to define you unless you give them that power. Own your process. Own your growth. Own your ability to take what's useful and let go of what isn't. Handling criticism constructively doesn't mean you have to enjoy it. It means you don't run from it. It means you don't let it knock you off course. It means you stay calm, stay clear, and stay committed to improving. It means you choose to rise instead of react. That choice becomes your strength. That strength becomes your edge. You can train yourself to get better at this. Start with the small moments. When someone gives you feedback, breathe before responding. When you feel the urge to defend yourself, pause. When you hear something that stings, observe what part of you feels triggered. The more you practice this awareness, the more power you gain over your emotions. You begin to separate feeling from fact. You begin to hear the message, not just the tone, and that clarity helps you grow. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can handle criticism without falling apart. It gives you the freedom to try more, to take more risks, to share your ideas more openly, because now you're not living to avoid judgment. You're living to evolve. You're not afraid of getting it wrong, because you know you can learn from anything. That mindset is rare, and it makes you unstoppable. You don't need to agree with every critique, but you should be willing to consider it. You should be willing to ask what it's teaching you. You should be willing to grow. And if you make that a habit, if you welcome feedback with calm and clarity, you'll grow faster than those who spend their lives avoiding discomfort. You'll become someone who is steady, strong and unshaken. Someone who leads with humility, learns with purpose, and rises through every challenge. Start now. The next time someone offers feedback, pause, breathe, listen, reflect, ask what you can learn, respond with presence, and walk away stronger. That's how you handle criticism. That's how you take back your power. That's how you grow into the version of yourself that doesn't just survive discomfort, but uses it to rise. Every time. Chapter 11. Use positive words deliberately to inspire other people. Your words carry more power than you realize. The way you speak shapes how people feel about themselves, about their challenges, and about their future. Every sentence you say has the ability to lift someone or leave them empty. You might forget what you said, but they won't. They will remember the words you used when they were uncertain. They will remember how you made them feel in a moment when they needed reassurance. Positive words are not just nice phrases, they are tools. And when you use them with intention, they become a force that builds people, strengthens relationships, and creates momentum in the hearts of others. You don't have to be a leader to inspire. You just have to be someone who chooses your words carefully and who uses your voice to bring light instead of weight. In a world where negativity spreads fast, people are starved for encouragement. They wake up with doubts. They carry quiet insecurities. They face pressure, comparison, fear, and uncertainty every day. Most of them are not looking for advice. They're looking for belief. They want to know that someone sees their effort. They want to feel understood. They want to hear something real that gives them a reason to keep going. That's where your words matter most. Not in speeches, but in simple, honest, positive expressions that tell someone they're not alone, that they're doing better than they think, that they have more strength than they realize. To inspire others through words, you have to mean what you say. Empty compliments don't build trust. Overused phrases don't stick. What makes your words powerful is your presence behind them. When you notice someone's progress and say, "I see how much effort you've been putting in," it lands deeper than a generic "good job." When you tell someone, "You handled that situation with real strength," it helps them feel grounded. It makes them more likely to keep growing. Inspiration doesn't always come from big statements. It often comes from sincere observations, delivered with kindness and honesty. You have to practice being intentional. Positive communication isn't about being overly cheerful or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing to speak in a way that builds instead of breaks. It's about using your voice to offer hope instead of adding doubt. It's about taking one extra second to say something that helps instead of something that hurts. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or being dishonest. It means choosing a tone that supports solutions. It means speaking in a way that leaves people stronger than you found them. You never know what someone is going through when you speak to them. The person standing next to you might be close to giving up. They might be tired from battles you'll never see. They might be one sentence away from feeling like they can face the day. And that sentence can come from you. When you say something like, "You've got this," "I know how much you care," you are offering more than encouragement. You are giving them fuel. You are reminding them of their worth. You are giving their effort meaning. That kind of inspiration doesn't cost you anything, but it can mean everything to them. Positive words don't just affect others, they shape who you are too. When you practice speaking with encouragement, you begin to think with more clarity. You begin to notice what's good. You train your mind to see potential instead of problems. You become someone who looks for growth instead of failure. This way of thinking sharpens your awareness and softens your reactions. You stop rushing to judgment. You start looking for what can be built instead of what should be broken. That mindset transforms your relationships and changes the way people feel when they're around you. If you want to be someone who inspires with your words, slow down. Don't rush through conversations. Pay attention to the way people speak. Listen to their tone. Watch their body language. Let their energy guide your words. Sometimes a person doesn't need you to solve their issue. They just need you to see them. And one honest sentence like, "I'm proud of how you handled that," can offer more value than an hour of advice. Positive words are not about having the right answers. They are about having the right heart. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. Start with the people you see every day. Tell your family that you appreciate them. Tell your team that you respect their effort. Tell your friends that you believe in their potential. Don't assume they already know. Most people hear criticism louder than they hear praise. So say it. Say it directly. Say it often. Say it in the middle of ordinary moments, because that's where life really happens. That's where your words have the most power to show up in silence and give someone a reason to believe again. Being positive with your words also means being responsible. When you speak negatively about someone, it doesn't just affect them, it affects you. It makes you smaller. It fills your space with energy that brings everyone down, including yourself. But when you speak life into people, You create a space where growth becomes possible. You become someone who helps others see a better version of themselves. That version already lives inside them. It just needed a little reminder. And that reminder can come from one well-timed, well-chosen sentence. You have the ability to lead with your words, no matter your title. People listen more to your energy than your authority. And when you make encouragement a habit, your presence becomes a place of safety. People feel more comfortable around you. They feel more willing to open up. They feel less afraid to fail, because they know that even if they fall, you won't judge them. You'll remind them of their ability to rise. That kind of presence is rare, and it's not built overnight. It's built one positive word at a time. Even when offering feedback, you can choose language that uplifts. Instead of saying, "You didn't do this right," you can say, "Here's something I think you could improve, and I believe you're fully capable of it." That shift changes everything. It keeps the dignity in the conversation. It invites progress without creating shame. People respond to that. They trust it, they remember it, and it helps them grow. Speak in a way that creates momentum. When someone is trying, when they are showing effort, when they are pushing through difficulty, your encouragement can be the push they need to keep going. Say, "You're improving every day." Say, "I admire your discipline." Say, "That was a tough situation, and you handled it with strength." These are not complicated sentences, but they are real, and real words spoken with care can do more than motivate. They can restore someone's belief in themselves. Being someone who inspires through words doesn't mean you're always smiling or cheerful. It means you're rooted in clarity. You see what's happening and still choose to speak with intention. Even in difficult moments, you can say things that lead people forward. You can acknowledge pain without drowning in it. You can offer encouragement without ignoring the truth. That balance is what makes your words trustworthy. It's what gives them weight. It's what allows people to lean on them. Your voice is a tool. Use it to build. Use it to strengthen. Use it to remind others of who they can become. Don't hold back your encouragement. Don't assume people know how much you admire them. Tell them, don't wait until they're gone to speak the truth about their value. Speak it now. Speak it clearly. Speak it while they're still fighting to find it for themselves. Speak to the potential in others, not just their performance. Speak to the strength they've forgotten they have. Speak to the courage you see in their small acts of consistency. Speak to their quiet discipline, their resilience, their kindness. Speak to the part of them that wants to believe they matter, because they do. And your words can help them feel it again. If you make this a daily habit, everything around you changes. People begin to respond with more openness. Conversations go deeper. Relationships grow stronger. And you grow too. Because the more you use your words to lift others, the more you lift yourself. You become someone who sees with clarity and speaks with purpose. Someone who doesn't just talk, but leads, helps, and builds. That is a rare skill, and you can develop it fully by starting now. Let your words be clean. Let them be bold. Let them be filled with presence. And let them carry the weight of honesty and kindness. You don't need permission to inspire. You just need a voice, and the courage to use it in a way that brings others to life. Speak well. Speak often. Speak like it matters, because it always does.
Chapter 12. Share genuine appreciation regularly to strengthen personal bonds. Most people go through their lives quietly wondering if what they do matters to anyone. They do their best, they show up, they give what they can, but rarely do they hear that it's noticed, that it's appreciated, that it's valued. It's not that others don't care, it's that they forget to say it.
They assume people already know. They wait for the perfect moment. They hold back because they feel awkward or don't want to seem overly emotional. But in doing that, they miss the most powerful way to strengthen a relationship: through regular, honest, and specific appreciation. When you take the time to express what you truly value in someone, you make them feel seen. And when people feel seen, they become more open, more generous, and more connected to you. Appreciation builds emotional safety. It lets people know that they matter, not just for what they do, but for who they are. And when that kind of message is repeated often, it builds a bond that becomes very hard to break. You can't fake this. People can tell when words are just a formality. That's why the appreciation must be real. You must notice the small things. You must speak with sincerity. You must pay attention to the details that others overlook. That kind of presence makes your words land deeply. They stick. They heal. They motivate. They create trust. When you share appreciation, you're not just making someone feel good for a moment. You're building something lasting. You're investing in the foundation of your connection. You're choosing to acknowledge the effort that often goes unnoticed. You're saying, "I see you," without needing a special reason. That is powerful. That is rare. That changes how people feel about you and how they feel about themselves. A well-placed word of thanks, a short message of recognition, a simple moment of acknowledgement can stay with someone for years. The reason this is so important is because relationships don't stay strong on their own. They either grow or they weaken, and the space between people doesn't get filled with love or trust by accident. It gets filled through intentional actions. Appreciation is one of those actions. It's not a grand gesture. It's not a one-time thing. It's a habit. It's a choice you make every day. You look for what's good. You speak to it. You let people know that you don't take them for granted, that you value their presence, their effort, their spirit, that they make a difference. You don't need to be poetic or perfect in how you say it. What matters is that you mean it. You say, "Thank you for always listening when I need it." You say, "I respect the way you show up consistently." You say, "I admire your ability to stay calm under pressure." These are not complicated sentences, but they require you to notice. They require you to care enough to pay attention. And once you start doing that, you'll see how people change. They become more open around you. They smile more. They trust you more. They start to give more of themselves because now they feel safe. Appreciation softens defenses. It reduces tension. It makes difficult conversations easier. When someone knows you value them, they're more likely to listen, more likely to forgive, more likely to engage with you, even when things get uncomfortable. Because appreciation builds emotional credit, and that credit gives your words weight. People are not moved by criticism nearly as much as they are moved by being seen. That's why regular appreciation is not just kindness, it's wisdom. It's what keeps the connection alive. If you want to build stronger personal bonds, make appreciation a daily practice. Don't wait for milestones. Don't save it for birthdays or accomplishments. Let it show up in the middle of an ordinary moment. When someone helps you, thank them with intention. When someone shows effort, acknowledge it clearly. When someone brings joy, say it out loud. These moments don't take much time, but they shape how people experience you. They create warmth. They create belonging. They create memories. Even in relationships that have been strained or distant, appreciation can begin the process of healing. It can reopen doors that have been closed. It can soften resentment. It can begin to rebuild trust. Start with one honest sentence. "I know we've had tension, but I want you to know I really do value how you've supported me." That sentence doesn't fix everything, but it opens a window. It creates space. It gives both people permission to lower their guard, and from there something new can begin. Sometimes people feel like they don't need appreciation, that they're fine without it. But deep down, everyone wants to know they matter. Everyone wants to feel like their presence makes a difference. They may not ask for it, but they feel it when it's missing. And when it's present, it nourishes something deep within. So give it. Give it freely. Give it without needing a reason. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait until you're certain it will be received perfectly. Just speak what's true. The habit of appreciation also changes you. It makes you more aware. It teaches you to look for the good instead of always noticing the gaps. It rewires your brain to focus on what's strong instead of what's wrong. That mindset creates peace. It reduces stress. It makes you someone who radiates calm, who brings encouragement without forcing it, who lifts others without losing yourself. And over time, people will begin to associate your presence with warmth, with safety, with meaning. You don't have to do it in a big way. A short message, a small note, a gentle word, it all counts. A moment where you look someone in the eye and say, "I really value the way you care," can change the atmosphere. It can turn a normal day into a meaningful one. That's how powerful appreciation is. Not because it's loud, but because it's real. Not because it's fancy, but because it's felt. Make it a discipline. End each day by asking yourself who you appreciated and how. If you can't name anyone, try again tomorrow. Start small. One person, one sentence, one honest thank you. Do it again the next day, and again after that. Soon it becomes second nature. You start noticing more. You start giving more. And the quality of your relationships deepens without effort or force. Just presence. Just care. Just words that come from a heart that pays attention. Appreciation also creates momentum. When people feel valued, they want to contribute more. They want to show up more fully. They feel energized. They feel connected. They feel motivated, not because someone pushed them, but because someone recognized them. That's what most people need. Not pressure, not lectures, just acknowledgement. Just someone who says, "You're doing something that matters." You can't control how others respond. Some may not show emotion. Some may shrug it off. That's okay. Do it anyway. Say it anyway. Sometimes appreciation doesn't land in the moment, but it stays. It sits with them. It speaks later. And over time it shapes how they see themselves. It reminds them of their worth. It gives them quiet strength they didn't know they needed. That's what your words can do. That's what your voice can bring. Don't underestimate your ability to change a relationship with one sentence. Don't underestimate the ripple effect of kindness. Don't underestimate what people carry in silence, and how your appreciation can lighten that load. Every day you get a chance to speak value into someone's life. Every day you get a chance to remind someone that who they are matters. Take that chance. Make it count. Let your appreciation be specific. Let it be sincere. Let it be consistent. You don't need the right moment. You just need the right heart. And when your words reflect that heart, they will always be enough. Not because they're perfect, but because they're real. Not because they're long, but because they're needed. You are surrounded by people doing their best. Tell them you see it. Tell them you appreciate it. Tell them it matters. Because it does. And because your words might be the very thing that keeps them going one more day.
Chapter 13. Adjust your communication style for different personality types. Not everyone thinks the same. Not everyone listens the same.
Not everyone reacts to communication the same way. And if you want to become a truly effective communicator, you need to understand that what works for one person may not work for another. It's not about changing who you are, it's about recognizing who they are and meeting them there. This takes awareness, patience, and humility. It takes the willingness to slow down and notice the way someone receives your words. When you learn how to adjust your communication style to fit different personality types, your words begin to land. Your message becomes clearer. The connection becomes stronger. Some people are direct and fast-paced. They appreciate clarity, action, and quick results. When speaking with them, don't over-explain. Don't drag the conversation. Get to the point. Be concise. Be specific. Show that you respect their time and energy. If you're too vague or hesitant, they'll lose interest. If you speak in a straight line with calm confidence, they'll listen. They don't need emotional padding. They need you to speak with strength and focus. Others are more relational and expressive. They care about how the conversation feels. They want connection, energy, and personal engagement. With these people, your tone matters as much as your words. Be warm. Be open. Use examples and stories. Ask questions that show you care about their experiences. If you're too cold or rigid, they'll pull away. They want to feel the human side of you. They want to feel heard before they're willing to hear what you have to say. Some people are cautious and analytical. They like facts, structure, and details. They process information slowly and carefully. Don't rush them. Don't expect quick reactions. Be prepared. Be organized. Explain the why behind what you're saying. If you're too casual or vague, they'll hesitate to trust you. They need time to think. They need logic, not pressure. Respect their process. When you give them clarity, they give you trust. Then there are those who are steady and supportive. They value harmony, safety, and consistency. They don't like conflict. They avoid drama. They want to know that you're calm, thoughtful, and respectful. Be gentle. Be patient. Don't come at them too strong. They need time to adjust, and they'll open up more when they feel safe. If you speak with kindness and give them space, they'll become your most loyal supporters. No one is just one type. We all carry pieces of each style, but one tends to lead. Your job is to pay attention. Listen before you speak. Observe how someone responds. Do they ask for details or move fast? Do they care more about the process or the result? Do they focus on facts or emotions? Let those clues guide your approach. This isn't manipulation, it's empathy. It's adapting your message to meet someone where they are, not where you wish they were. When you adjust your style, you're not being fake. You're being effective. You're showing respect. You're saying, I care enough to communicate in a way that makes sense to you. That one choice builds trust fast. People feel seen. They feel understood. And when someone feels understood, they become more open, more cooperative, more connected. Adjusting your style doesn't mean changing your values. It means being aware of how your delivery can help or hurt the message. Some people need energy. Others need calm. Some need clarity. Others need connection. If you force one way of communication on everyone, you'll create distance. But if you pay attention and make small adjustments, you'll start seeing results right away. Conversations will flow more easily. Conflicts will reduce. People will start responding to you with more openness and honesty. This is especially important in leadership. A great leader doesn't expect everyone to adjust to them. They learn to communicate with each person based on who they're talking to. If one team member needs motivation, they give energy. If another needs clarity, they give structure. If someone needs reassurance, they offer patience. If someone needs a challenge, they speak directly. That flexibility makes you trusted, respected, and effective. The same is true in personal relationships. The way you speak to a close friend isn't the same way you speak to a coworker. The way you connect with your partner might not be the best way to talk to your sibling. Everyone needs something different to feel heard. And when you understand that, you stop expecting people to respond like you would. You start giving them the kind of communication that brings out their best. You can develop this skill by reflecting after conversations. Ask yourself how the other person responded. Did they seem confused, distant, engaged, defensive? That tells you something. Maybe your pace was too fast. Maybe your tone felt cold. Maybe your explanation was too shallow. Learn from that. Adjust next time. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. You can also improve by asking questions. Does that make sense to you? Would you prefer more detail? How do you like to communicate when there's an issue? These questions show maturity. They show that you're not just trying to talk, you're trying to connect. That effort is what sets you apart. It's what makes you effective in every environment. Your tone also matters more than you think. Some people will only hear your tone, not your words. If your voice sounds rushed or irritated, they won't absorb your message. If it sounds calm and steady, they'll lean in. So before you speak, ground yourself. Speak from a place of clarity, not pressure. Speak with the goal of connection, not control. That energy changes everything. In high-stress situations, adapting your style becomes even more important. When tension is high, people revert to their default personalities. Fast-paced people get impatient. Cautious people freeze. Relational people become emotional. Steady people avoid. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss the signs. You'll speak in a way that triggers instead of soothes. But if you're tuned in, you'll slow down. You'll adjust. You'll communicate in a way that calms the storm instead of fueling it. This skill is also useful in conflict. When emotions rise, people need different things. One person might need to talk it out right away. Another might need time alone to process. One might need reassurance. Another might need facts. If you insist on your way of resolving things, you'll create resistance. But if you understand their style, you'll find the path back to understanding faster. You'll know how to approach the situation without making it worse. Being able to shift your communication style doesn't make you inconsistent. It makes you wise. It makes you emotionally intelligent. It shows that you're not locked into one way of being. You're flexible. You're thoughtful. You're in control of your own patterns. That self-awareness makes you powerful in conversations. It makes you someone people want to talk to, someone people feel safe around. The goal is not to become a different person. It's to become a more aware person, someone who sees clearly, someone who listens carefully, someone who speaks intentionally. This mindset will improve your conversations immediately. It will reduce misunderstandings. It will create space for real connection. And it will make your communication skills a strength you carry into every area of your life. People won't always tell you what they need, but they'll show you through their body language, through their tone, through their reactions. Learn to read those signs. Learn to respond instead of react, and learn to speak in a way that opens doors, not walls. Be curious. Be calm. Be clear. Let your communication match the person in front of you, not just the voice in your head. That's how you build bridges. That's how you create trust. That's how you turn every conversation into a moment that moves things forward. This is not about changing your message. It's about changing your delivery. And that one adjustment can make all the difference in how your words are received, remembered, and respected. Chapter 14. Communicate boundaries clearly to protect your personal peace. You cannot live in peace if you are afraid to say no. You cannot grow with strength if your time is constantly stolen by demands you never agreed to. You cannot feel aligned with your values if you're constantly bending to avoid disappointing others. This is why boundaries matter, not as a wall to push people away, but as a way to define what is healthy for you. Boundaries are not selfish. They are necessary. They are how you protect your time, your focus, your energy, your peace. And if you want to truly protect those things, you have to learn to communicate your boundaries clearly. Clarity is kindness. People can't honor your limits if they don't know what they are. You cannot expect others to read your silence or guess your discomfort. You have to speak. You have to say what's okay for you and what's not. You have to be honest about what you can give and when you need to step back. That level of honesty doesn't make you cold. It makes you responsible. It shows that you respect yourself and that you're strong enough to live by your own standards, not someone else's pressure. Too many people say yes out of fear. Fear of being judged. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being seen as unkind. So they agree when they shouldn't. They stay silent when they're uncomfortable. They avoid conflict by sacrificing their peace. And over time that creates resentment. It creates fatigue. It creates emotional distance, not because others were toxic, but because they allowed themselves to be stretched beyond what was healthy. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about guiding yourself. They're about choosing what kind of environment you want to live in. To communicate boundaries clearly, you have to be direct. You cannot speak in hints. You cannot expect someone to figure it out. You must use simple, calm, respectful words that make your boundary known. You don't need to defend it. You don't need to apologize for it. You just need to express it. I'm not available after 8 p.m. I don't share details about that part of my life. I'm not comfortable taking on that task right now. These are not harsh statements. They are honest ones. They are statements that set the tone for what is acceptable in your world. It's normal to feel nervous the first time you speak a boundary. You might feel tension in your chest. You might worry about how the other person will respond. But every time you choose to speak clearly, instead of staying silent, you take your power back. You prove to yourself that your peace matters. And over time that clarity becomes easier. You stop shrinking. You stop hesitating. You stop compromising what's important to you just to keep things smooth on the surface. The people who respect you will respect your boundaries. The people who get offended by them were never really listening to your needs in the first place. A boundary is not an attack. It's a decision. It's a reflection of what you value. And if someone takes that personally, it reveals more about their expectations than about your clarity. You are not responsible for someone's reaction to your limits. You are responsible for expressing them with respect. That's where your responsibility ends. Boundaries are also how you teach others to treat you. If you allow disrespect, you invite it to continue. If you respond with silence, you give permission to be overlooked. But when you speak clearly and calmly, when you express your standards with consistency, you show people what you will and will not tolerate. That teaching doesn't require drama. It requires repetition. You don't need to explain your boundaries over and over. You need to live by them. You need to enforce them gently, without guilt, and without trying to make everyone comfortable. Sometimes the hardest boundaries to communicate are with the people closest to you. Family, partners, friends. These are the people who may feel entitled to access every part of you. But your closeness to someone doesn't remove your right to personal space. Even love needs limits. Even connection needs clarity. You can love someone deeply and still say, "That's not something I'm okay with." You can support someone fully and still say, "I need some time to myself." That kind of honesty actually deepens relationships. It creates respect. It builds trust. Because now there's no guessing. There's no walking on eggshells. There's just truth, spoken with calm strength. You also have to set boundaries with yourself. You have to know when to stop working, when to rest, when to turn off the noise, when to stop saying yes out of guilt, when to stop carrying responsibilities that don't belong to you. This internal discipline is what protects your external peace. You can't demand peace from others if you're constantly crossing your own boundaries. Start with how you treat yourself. Respect your own time. Keep your own standards. Show up for yourself before you expect anyone else to. Boundaries don't mean cutting people off. They mean creating a structure where connection can be healthy, where both people feel safe, where communication can be honest without becoming explosive, where expectations are clear so that no one feels used or ignored. That kind of structure creates freedom. It allows space for growth, both individually and together. It allows people to be close without being tangled. The way you say something matters. You don't have to raise your voice to make a point. In fact, the more calm you are, the more seriously people take your boundary. Speak with a steady tone. Don't rush. Don't shrink. Don't turn your voice into a question. Let your words be full and grounded. Let them reflect the confidence you are still learning to build. People respond to energy. If you speak with doubt, they'll treat your boundary like a suggestion. But if you speak with quiet conviction, they'll feel the line, and most will respect it. There will be times when someone pushes back, when they try to guilt you, when they ask why you're being distant. Don't let that distract you. You don't owe anyone emotional access that costs you your stability. You can respond with respect, but you don't have to explain every decision. "I'm doing what's best for me right now" is a complete sentence. "I appreciate your concern, but this is my choice" is a complete sentence. "This is something I've thought about, and I'm clear on it" is a complete sentence. Practice saying these things until they become natural. You don't have to be perfect at boundaries. You just have to be honest. You will make mistakes. You will say yes when you should have said no. You will overextend yourself and regret it. But every time you notice that, and choose differently next time, you grow. Every time you honor your peace, instead of pleasing people, you grow. Every time you stay calm in the face of pressure, and still choose your own health, you grow. Boundaries are not about control. They are about clarity. They are about protecting the parts of yourself that are most important: your energy, your time, your purpose, your focus. You are allowed to have limits. You are allowed to walk away from what drains you. You are allowed to speak your truth without guilt. You are allowed to prioritize peace over approval. Your boundaries don't make you hard to love. They make you easier to trust. They make you safer to be around. They make your relationships more grounded. Because now people know where they stand. They know what to expect. They know what's okay and what isn't. And that clarity removes guesswork. It removes confusion. It creates space for honesty. Every day is a chance to practice this. When someone asks for your time, pause before agreeing. When you feel drained, check if a boundary has been crossed. When you feel resentment, ask yourself where you said yes when you wanted to say no.
These signals are teachers. They point you to what needs adjustment. Listen to them, learn from them, use them to become someone who lives in alignment with what matters most. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It's necessary. It's what allows you to be your best, to serve from a full cup, to stay consistent in your values. You don't need to explain your peace to anyone who isn't protecting it with you. You just need to live by it. Speak clearly, hold steady, stay calm, and trust that the right people will honor the space you create. Not because you demanded it, but because you modeled it. Every time, without apology.
Chapter 15. Give feedback clearly and respectfully for positive change. Feedback is one of the most powerful tools for growth, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. When delivered poorly, it can shut people down, damage trust, and create tension that lingers. But when delivered clearly and respectfully, it can open doors. It can clarify expectations, inspire effort, strengthen relationships, and help someone become a better version of themselves. The way you give feedback says everything about your maturity, your mindset, and your values. It's not about being right or proving a point. It's about guiding someone toward a better outcome, not through force but through clarity and care. And when you do it well, people don't feel attacked, they feel supported. The purpose of feedback is not to judge but to improve. It's not to point out flaws just for the sake of saying something. It's to help someone see what they may have missed and give them the tools to do something about it. The intent behind your feedback determines the impact. If your intent is to criticize, people will close off. If your intent is to support, they'll be more willing to listen. You can't control how someone will respond, but you can control how you deliver your message. You can speak with honesty and respect at the same time. You can say what's necessary without being harsh. You can challenge someone without making them feel small. Before giving feedback, pause and check your state of mind. Never give feedback in the heat of frustration. When you're emotionally charged, your tone shifts, and even the right words land the wrong way. Take a moment to get grounded. Think about the outcome you want. Ask yourself, what's the purpose of this feedback? What would I want if the roles were reversed? What would help this person move forward with confidence and clarity? That mental clarity will guide your words. It will shape your delivery. It will keep your energy calm and constructive. Be specific. Vague feedback helps no one. Saying you need to do better, or this wasn't good, doesn't explain anything. People don't grow from confusion. They grow from direction. If someone made a mistake, explain what didn't work and why. Point to the behavior, not their character. Focus on actions, not identity. Say things like, this report had some gaps in the data, which made it harder to draw conclusions, instead of, you're careless with your work. That shift makes a difference. It keeps the conversation on the issue, not on their worth. It keeps the space open for learning, not defense. Use calm language. Your tone is just as important as your message. You can be firm without being cold. You can be direct without being aggressive. Speak in a way that shows respect for the other person's dignity. Let them know you believe in their potential, even as you point out what needs to improve. When people feel respected, they listen. When they feel attacked, they shut down. Choose words that open, not close. That build, not break. That correct, not crush. Timing also matters. Feedback given too late loses impact. Feedback given in front of others can cause embarrassment. Know when to speak. Know where to speak. In private with presence, with full attention. Don't rush. Don't sandwich the message in a way that hides the truth, but don't lead with sharpness either. Start with your intent. Let them know you're here to help, not to hurt. That one sentence can shift the entire tone of the conversation. Make space for a response. Don't talk at someone. Talk with them. Ask what they see. Ask how they felt about the situation. Listen before responding. Let them speak without interruption. Sometimes people already know what went wrong. Sometimes they're harder on themselves than you would ever be. And in those moments, what they need most is not a list of their mistakes. They need someone who sees their effort and still believes in their ability to improve. Listen with care. Speak with clarity. That combination earns trust. Offer a path forward. Feedback without direction creates discouragement. If you point out what needs to change, also suggest how to improve it. Say, next time, try reviewing your notes right after the meeting to keep the details fresh. Instead of just saying, you missed some important points. Help them see what success looks like. Give them something they can act on, something they can use, something that leaves them better, not bitter. Affirm what they're doing well. Feedback isn't just about correction, it's about balance. People need to hear what's working, not just what isn't. Remind them of their strengths. Acknowledge their progress. Reinforce what you want to see more of. This doesn't mean you soften the message. It means you make it full. It shows that you're paying attention to the whole picture, not just the flaws. And that balance makes the feedback easier to receive, because it feels fair, not one-sided. Delivering feedback respectfully doesn't mean avoiding the hard truth. It means delivering it with strength and kindness at the same time. It means saying the hard thing in a way that the other person can still hear. It means holding people to a high standard without making them feel like they're not enough. That level of communication creates loyalty. People don't forget how you speak to them in their low moments. If you can speak truth without tearing them down, they'll trust you more, not less. Feedback is also a two-way street. Be open to receiving it too. Model what it looks like to hear difficult things without becoming defensive. Thank people who are honest with you, even when it's uncomfortable. That humility creates a culture where feedback is not feared, it's welcomed. And when feedback is welcomed, growth accelerates. Teams get stronger. Relationships get deeper. People improve faster. There is no need to sugarcoat, but there's also no need to shame. Respect is the foundation of effective communication. And the more consistently you offer feedback with respect, the more influence you have. People begin to seek your guidance. They begin to ask for your input, because now they know you're not just pointing out problems, you're someone who helps build solutions. Practice this in small ways. When you see something off, speak up kindly. When someone does something well, mention it clearly. When a mistake is made, bring it up early, not weeks later. Let feedback be part of the rhythm of your relationships. Not something rare and heavy, but something natural. That consistency creates safety. It creates flow. It makes feedback part of growth, not a punishment for failure. Giving feedback clearly and respectfully also requires emotional discipline. You can't let your frustration speak for you. You must let your intention lead. You must stay grounded in your values, not your irritation. The goal is to help someone rise, not to make them feel small. Keep that goal in mind with every word you choose, with every sentence you form, with every pause you allow for understanding. Sometimes feedback will not be received well. That's not your failure. Your responsibility is to be clear, to be kind, to be steady. If someone isn't ready to hear it, don't force it. Let it land when it's ready. Keep showing up with consistency. Keep offering insight without judgment. That consistency builds trust over time, even if it's not visible right away. Every conversation is a chance to lead, and feedback is one of the clearest ways to lead with integrity, not by having all the answers, but by being willing to help others see more clearly, by being brave enough to speak when it would be easier to stay quiet, by being strong enough to tell the truth, and kind enough to make it easier to receive. That's what makes your voice valuable. That's what makes your presence powerful. Don't underestimate the impact of your words. One sentence delivered with clarity and care can shift someone's entire approach. One moment of feedback, given with respect, can change how someone sees themselves. That is your influence. That is your opportunity. And you have it every single day. Speak with truth. Speak with purpose. Speak with patience. Let your feedback be the kind that builds trust, fuels improvement, and leaves others better than you found them. That's how real change begins. That's how strong relationships are built. That's how growth becomes lasting. Not through force, not through fear, but through words that are grounded in respect, spoken with care, and driven by the desire to help others succeed.
Chapter 16. Connect authentically by showing vulnerability without fear. Real connection doesn't happen through perfect words or polished appearances. It happens through honesty. It happens when you're willing to stop performing and start showing who you really are. It happens when you choose to be seen without your mask, without your armor, without the need to impress. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the doorway to connection. It is the courage to say, "This is me, not just the version I want you to like, but the one I actually am." And the truth is, when you let go of fear and speak from that place, people don't turn away, they lean in. Because deep down, everyone is tired of pretending. Everyone is craving something real. You don't build trust by hiding your struggles. You build trust by being human. When you speak openly about your challenges, your doubts, your lessons, people feel safe around you. They no longer feel like they have to compete with perfection. They see that you've been through things too, that you're still learning, that you understand what it means to be unsure, to fall, to get back up. That kind of honesty breaks down walls. It turns strangers into allies, co-workers into teammates, conversations into relationships. Being vulnerable doesn't mean oversharing or spilling your story for attention. It means speaking with purpose and presence. It means letting your truth be part of your communication without trying to hide the hard parts. You say, "That situation made me question my confidence." You say, "There was a time I didn't know what I was doing." You say, "I've made mistakes that taught me how to be better." These aren't confessions, they're invitations. Invitations for others to meet you in that same space, where walls are lower and hearts are open. You don't have to have it all figured out to be worth listening to. You don't have to be the strongest person in the room to be respected. In fact, when you speak from a place of vulnerability, you give others the permission to do the same. And that permission is powerful. Most people are holding something back. A fear, a regret, a dream they're afraid to chase, a failure they haven't forgiven themselves for. When they see you speak without pretending, it gives them hope that they can stop pretending too. To show vulnerability without fear, you must first accept yourself. You must decide that your imperfections don't make you unworthy, that your past doesn't disqualify you, that your emotions are not a problem to fix, but a part of your truth. Self-acceptance is the foundation of vulnerability, because the less you judge yourself, the less you fear being judged, and the less you fear judgment, the more honest you become. That honesty is what gives your communication depth. It's what makes your presence feel real instead of rehearsed. There's a difference between being emotionally open and emotionally uncontrolled.
Vulnerability is not about falling apart, it's about being grounded in your truth. It's about speaking clearly even when your voice shakes. It's about standing in your experience without needing to defend or deny it. When someone asks how you're doing, and you say, "Honestly, I've been feeling a little lost lately, but I'm figuring it out," that's strength. That's presence. That's a level of communication that people remember. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's real. In relationships, vulnerability is what deepens the bond. It's easy to get along when things are smooth. But when things get difficult, when there's misunderstanding, when trust is tested, that's when vulnerability becomes essential. It allows you to say, "I don't want to fight. I want to understand you." It allows you to admit when you're wrong. It allows you to ask for what you need without shame. These moments aren't glamorous, but they are where the foundation gets stronger. Because now you're not just performing for each other, you're growing together. In leadership, vulnerability creates influence. People follow those they trust. And people trust those who are honest. When a leader says, "I don't have all the answers, but I'm listening," it creates space for collaboration. When a leader says, "I've made mistakes, but I've learned from them," it creates credibility. Vulnerability doesn't weaken your authority. It humanizes it. It makes you relatable. It turns a position into a presence, a title into a connection. To practice vulnerability, you must slow down. You must take the time to check in with yourself before you speak. Ask what's real. Ask what's true. Ask what's going on beneath the surface. And then let some of that into your words. You don't need to share everything, but you need to stop hiding everything. If you're always fine, always perfect, always strong, you become untouchable. And being untouchable might feel safe, but it's also lonely. Connection requires closeness, and closeness requires openness. Sometimes people will not respond to your vulnerability the way you hoped. That's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of where they are in their own journey. Some people are uncomfortable with openness because they haven't accepted their own. Some people will change the subject, deflect or stay distant. That's okay. Vulnerability is not about controlling the response. It's about speaking from a place that's aligned with your truth. Speak anyway, share anyway, be real anyway. Not for applause, but for alignment, for your own peace, for your own freedom. You also don't need to be dramatic to be vulnerable. You don't need to tell your life story to make a moment meaningful. Vulnerability can be quiet. It can be a single sentence that carries your truth. It can be the moment you admit you're struggling, the moment you ask for support, the moment you say, "I don't know, but I want to learn." These small moments carry weight. They shift the energy. They open the door. They show others that strength and softness can live in the same voice. In a world full of filters, surface talk and noise, your vulnerability becomes a gift. It becomes a breath of fresh air. It reminds people of what matters. It reminds them that being human is not something to be hidden. It's something to be lived. And when you live that way, when you speak with honesty, when you show up without pretending, when you communicate from your whole self, you don't just connect with others, you inspire them. You remind them that it's safe to come out of hiding. You don't have to be fearless to be vulnerable. You just have to be willing to show up anyway, willing to speak anyway, willing to be seen even when it's uncomfortable. That willingness is what builds emotional strength. The more you practice it, the stronger you become. And soon you'll realize that what used to scare you no longer holds power. You've made peace with your truth. You've made room for your full voice. And in doing that, you've become someone others feel safe around. Vulnerability also teaches you to listen better. Because now you understand what it takes to open up. You don't rush people. You don't judge their emotions. You don't fill silence with advice. You hold space. You give presence. You listen with your whole self. And that kind of listening is rare. It makes people feel seen. It makes them feel valued. It makes them trust you. Not because you said the perfect thing, but because you gave them the space to speak their own truth, without fear. Let yourself be seen. Not just the strong parts. Not just the polished parts. Let people hear your questions, your reflections, your truth. Let them see the journey, not just the outcome. Let them walk with you, not just watch you. That's how you connect. That's how you lead. That's how you build relationships that last. You don't need to have it all together to be inspiring. You need to be honest. You need to be real. You need to speak from where you are. And the more you do that, the more freedom you feel. You're no longer performing. You're no longer hiding. You're no longer holding back who you really are. And that kind of presence changes everything. It changes how people hear you. It changes how people respond to you. It changes how people remember you. Every time you choose to be vulnerable, you're choosing courage. You're choosing connection over comfort, truth over performance, depth over distance. And the more you choose that path, the more whole you become. The more powerful your communication becomes. The more authentic your relationships become. And the more fully you begin to live, not as someone pretending to be strong, but as someone who already is.
Chapter 17. Develop patience by allowing others to speak first. Most people listen to reply. Few listen to understand. When someone speaks, the mind often races ahead, preparing what to say next, building arguments, searching for solutions. But the deeper skill, the one that separates surface-level communication from real connection, is patience. It's the ability to hold your words, to sit with silence, to give someone else space to speak without interruption. Developing patience is not just about waiting, it's about presence. It's about making the conscious choice to step back and allow someone else to express themselves fully before you respond. And one of the simplest but most powerful ways to build that discipline is by allowing others to speak first. You learn more when you listen first. You understand people better when you let them show you what's on their mind without jumping in too soon. When you speak before they finish, you cut off information that may have changed your perspective. You also risk making someone feel unheard. And when people don't feel heard, they don't trust you, they don't open up, they protect themselves, they pull away. But when you listen with patience, without rushing, correcting, or finishing their sentences, you create a safe space. And that space is where real communication begins. It's not always easy. The urge to respond quickly can be strong, especially when you feel passionate or disagree with what's being said. But every time you pause and choose to listen instead of speak, you strengthen your inner control. You shift from reacting to responding. You give yourself time to absorb, process, and choose your words with more care. That gap between hearing and replying is where wisdom lives. It's where emotional maturity is built. It's where respect is practiced. Letting others speak first is also an act of humility. It says, I don't need to dominate this conversation. I want to understand you before I make myself understood. That simple gesture lowers defensiveness. It shows that you're not just waiting for your turn to talk. You're here to engage, to learn, to build something meaningful. People feel that. They notice when you're present. They sense when your silence is not disinterest, but discipline. In heated moments, this skill becomes even more important. When emotions run high, conversations can easily turn into battles. If both people try to speak over each other, nothing gets resolved. But when one person chooses to wait, to breathe, to allow the other to empty their thoughts fully,
tension begins to soften. It sends a signal that the goal is not to win, but to understand. That mindset can change the outcome of any disagreement. It creates a tone of mutual respect, even in conflict. Patience in conversation also shows confidence. You don't need to rush to prove your point when you're grounded in what you believe. You don't need to interrupt to be heard. You know that your words will carry more weight when they're delivered with calm and clarity, not urgency or force. And people respond differently to that kind of presence. They're more likely to listen, more likely to reflect, more likely to consider your view because you've first honored theirs. Letting someone speak first isn't just about being polite. It's about deepening your ability to observe. You begin to notice tone, body language, hesitation, and emphasis. You start picking up on what's being said and what's being avoided. This kind of listening gives you insight you can't get when you're busy formulating your next thought. And the more you train this awareness, the more intuitive your communication becomes. When you speak too soon, you miss the full message. You respond to part of what was said instead of the whole. That often leads to miscommunication, frustration, or missed opportunities to connect. But when you wait, when you listen until the other person is done, not just with their words but with their energy, you gain a more complete understanding. Then when it's your turn to speak, you can respond with precision, with relevance, with empathy. Sometimes people just need to be heard. They're not looking for answers. They're not asking for a solution. They're trying to process something out loud, trying to feel understood. And when you give them that space, when you resist the urge to fix, advise, or redirect, you offer something rare. You offer presence. That kind of patience is healing. It tells them that they matter, that their words are worth your time, that they don't have to rush or shrink or perform. In leadership, this skill builds trust. When team members feel like their voice is respected, they speak more honestly. They share ideas, concerns, and insights they might have held back. And that honesty makes your work stronger. It uncovers issues early. It sparks creativity. It creates a culture where people feel seen and valued, all because you were willing to step back and let others speak before you did. In personal relationships, letting someone go first says, "You are important to me. I want to hear how you feel." It reduces misunderstandings. It builds emotional intimacy. It creates room for connection. Too often we assume we know what the other person is going to say, so we interrupt. We talk over them. We steer the conversation where we want it to go. But when we stop assuming and start listening, we're often surprised by what we learn. Developing this kind of patience takes practice. You won't always get it right. Sometimes your words will come too fast. Sometimes you'll catch yourself interrupting out of habit. That's okay. Notice it. Pause. Adjust. Ask yourself, did I really listen? Did I let them finish? Did I wait long enough to understand, not just to respond? These small reflections strengthen your awareness. And with awareness comes growth. You can practice in small ways. When you ask someone how their day was, really listen. Don't just nod and move on. Let them share. Ask follow-up questions. Show that you're present. When someone gives you feedback, let them finish before you reply. Even if it's uncomfortable. Especially if it's uncomfortable. That's how you train your response muscle. That's how you build emotional discipline. This isn't about staying silent forever. It's about speaking at the right time, in the right way, with the right intention. It's about honoring the other person's voice before adding your own. That kind of communication creates respect. It makes you someone people feel safe around, because they know they'll be heard. They know they won't be rushed. They know they matter. Letting others speak first doesn't mean your thoughts are less important. It means you're strong enough to listen. It means you're secure enough to wait. It means you're wise enough to understand that real communication starts with space, not noise. And the more you create that space, the more clarity you gain. In your conversations, in your relationships, in yourself. This discipline carries over into every area of life. In negotiations, patience helps you understand what the other side really values. In parenting, it helps you hear what your child is actually feeling. In friendships, it builds a bond that isn't based on performance but on presence. And in your personal growth, it reminds you that not every moment needs your opinion, but every moment needs your awareness. Be someone who listens fully, who pauses often, who waits with intention. Be someone who doesn't rush to fill silence, but allows it to breathe. In that space, people open up. In that stillness, clarity comes. In that pause, connection deepens. You don't have to control every conversation. You don't have to prove your point right away. You don't have to rush to be understood. Let others go first. Let them unfold. Let them be. And when it's your time to speak, you'll find that your words are stronger, your message is clearer, and your connection is deeper, because it was built on patience, not pressure. Start today. In your next conversation, pause longer, listen more, speak less. Let it feel awkward if it has to. Let it stretch. Let it teach you. This is how you develop patience, not through theory but through presence. Not through silence alone, but through active listening. Not through holding back your voice, but through allowing others to use theirs. That simple shift changes everything. It strengthens your character. It deepens your influence. It transforms your relationships from transactional to transformational. All because you chose to let someone else speak first. Chapter 18. Resolve disagreements quickly through mature, calm dialogue. Disagreements are a natural part of human interaction. They arise when perspectives clash, when expectations are unclear, or when emotions interfere with understanding. But what separates strong, respectful relationships from those that slowly fall apart is how these disagreements are handled. When you learn to resolve conflict with calm, maturity, and open communication, you don't just avoid arguments, you build trust. You show that your goal isn't to win, it's to understand. You prove that clarity matters more than control, and that respect always outweighs ego. Mature dialogue isn't loud. It isn't reactive. It's steady. It's clear. It's focused on moving forward rather than dwelling on the past. The first step to resolving any disagreement quickly is to check your tone and energy. When emotions are high, words can be misunderstood. The voice you use matters more than the vocabulary you choose. If your tone is sharp or defensive, the other person will put up walls. They will stop listening. But if your tone is calm and respectful, even difficult words become easier to hear. The goal is to lower the emotional temperature of the conversation. When you stay steady, it helps the other person do the same. And only when both people are calm can the real issue be addressed with clarity. You have to choose maturity over reaction. That means resisting the urge to interrupt. It means avoiding sarcasm, blame, or emotional outbursts. It means creating a space where both sides can speak without fear. You don't have to agree with everything being said, but you do have to let it be said. That act of listening creates the foundation for progress. When someone feels heard, they become more open. When someone feels dismissed, they shut down or push back harder. So give them space. Give them your full attention. Let them finish, then respond, not from your emotions but from your values. Start with the intention to resolve, not to be right. If your goal is to prove a point, you'll argue endlessly. But if your goal is to find understanding and move forward, you'll stay focused on the solution. Say what you need to say without exaggeration. Keep your language clear and grounded. Speak from your experience instead of assigning motives. Say, "When that happened, I felt disappointed," instead of, "You always do this." That shift turns blame into clarity. It shows that you're here to fix, not to fight. And that tone invites cooperation, not resistance. Be the one who brings calm into the conversation. Not because you're avoiding the issue, but because you're choosing discipline. You can express frustration without raising your voice. You can share your truth without making accusations. That balance between honesty and control is what earns respect. It's what helps the other person lower their guard. And when both sides feel safe, real progress begins. Ask questions instead of making assumptions. Often, what looks like disagreement is actually misunderstanding. Instead of assuming why someone did something, ask them, "Can you help me understand what led to that decision?" Is a more productive sentence than "Why would you do that?" The former invites dialogue. The latter triggers defense. That small change in language shifts the entire direction of the conversation. It makes resolution possible. It shows that you're not trying to catch someone. You're trying to understand them. When people feel emotionally safe, they speak more honestly. And honesty is what resolves problems. You can't fix what hasn't been named. You can't repair what hasn't been acknowledged. And you can't move forward if both people are still holding on to unspoken tension. So let the truth be spoken, even if it's uncomfortable. Let the frustration be expressed without judgment. And once it's all on the table, you can begin to work together on the solution. Disagreements often grow worse when they're avoided. Silence builds distance. Avoidance creates resentment. What feels like peace is often just delayed tension. That's why mature communication means speaking up early, not waiting for the problem to get bigger. It means saying, "I think we should talk about this," instead of pretending everything is fine. That proactive mindset saves time, energy, and relationships. It keeps things clear. It keeps the bond strong. It shows you care enough to address something before it becomes damage. Sometimes you'll be the only one willing to stay calm. The other person may be defensive, upset, or unwilling to listen. That doesn't mean you have to match their energy. It means you lead by example. You remain steady. You stick to the facts. You speak with care. And you don't let their behavior pull you away from your standards. That consistency is powerful. It shifts the energy in the room. It shows emotional maturity. And over time it earns trust, even from people who were difficult to reach. You don't have to agree to move forward. You just have to understand each other. That understanding creates a path toward compromise. It creates space for mutual respect. And even if the solution isn't perfect, both sides walk away feeling heard. That feeling is what keeps communication open in the future. It keeps the relationship intact. It reminds people that disagreements don't have to destroy connection. They can deepen it. Always stay grounded in facts, not assumptions. Speak from observation, not interpretation. Talk about what happened, not what you think the other person meant. That clarity removes confusion. It keeps the conversation focused. It helps you deal with the real issue instead of spinning into unnecessary conflict. Facts lead to resolution. Interpretations often lead to more arguments. So be clear, be specific, be fair. You also have to know when to pause. Not every disagreement needs to be solved in one conversation. Sometimes people need space to think. Sometimes stepping away and returning with a clearer mind leads to a better outcome. Maturity means knowing when to keep talking and when to step back. It means checking your emotions before they take over. It means prioritizing the relationship over your own need to win. Speak from your values, not your frustration. Choose words that reflect who you want to be, not just how you feel in the moment. That choice makes your message stronger. It makes it more likely to be received. It shows that even in disagreement, you can communicate with respect. That strength earns admiration. It shows emotional leadership. You don't resolve conflict by overpowering. You resolve it by being the calmest voice in the room, by being clear without being harsh, by being firm without being aggressive. That's not weakness. It's real strength. It's what turns difficult conversations into turning points, into opportunities to build something stronger than what existed before the disagreement. Even when resolution isn't possible, maturity allows you to part ways with dignity. Not every situation ends with agreement, but every situation can end with respect. That depends on how you carry yourself. It depends on how you speak. It depends on how well you manage your emotions. People remember how you handle tension more than they remember the tension itself. Make your presence one that brings steadiness, even in conflict. Your ability to handle disagreements calmly is a reflection of how well you've trained your mind, how well you've developed self-control, how deeply you understand that clear communication is always more powerful than emotional reaction. And when you live by that, your conversations begin to change. You stop wasting time in arguments that go nowhere. You stop hurting people with careless words. You stop creating unnecessary stress. Instead, you start solving problems faster. You start building respect faster. You start living with more peace, not because there are no disagreements, but because you've learned how to handle them with wisdom. Make this your standard. When disagreement arises, you don't rush. You don't avoid. You don't explode. You listen. You speak. You ask. You respond. You hold yourself steady. And you resolve things with maturity. That discipline makes your relationship stronger. It makes your communication more effective. It makes your presence one that others trust. Not because you're perfect, but because you're intentional, because you lead with calm, because you choose growth, even when things are hard. That's what it means to resolve disagreements through mature, calm dialogue. That's what it means to lead with presence. That's what it means to build a life built on clarity, not conflict. Chapter 19. Increase influence by communicating vision passionately and clearly. People don't follow information. They follow clarity. They follow passion. They follow belief. If you want to influence others, not through force or fear, but through genuine inspiration, you have to communicate your vision in a way that is alive. You have to make it real in their minds, felt in their hearts, and understood with full certainty. Vision is not about having a complicated idea or a lofty speech. It's about showing people something they haven't yet seen, and doing it in a way that lights a fire within them. And to do that, you must speak with conviction. You must speak with energy that doesn't just explain where you're going, but makes others want to go there with you. Your vision means nothing if people can't understand it. If you talk in circles, use vague phrases, or get lost in technical details, people won't connect with your message. They'll nod, but feel no movement. They'll hear you but feel no reason to act. Influence begins with clarity. What do you believe? Why does it matter? Where are you going? And what's at stake if you don't get there? You must answer those questions, not just for yourself, but for the people you hope to move. Speak like someone who knows exactly where they're going and why it matters. Let your clarity become contagious. Let it cut through confusion. Let it bring direction where there is doubt. But clarity alone is not enough. You must speak with fire. You must bring life to your words. People are drawn to energy. They're pulled in by sincerity. When you communicate with genuine passion, you don't have to push people. They feel the pull. They feel your urgency. They feel your belief. And that belief is often the missing link between someone's potential and their action. It's not that they can't do something. It's that no one has ever spoken to them in a way that made them believe it was possible. When you show up with clear vision and real emotion, you become that voice. You become the person who helps them see more for themselves. Passion is not about volume. It's not about theatrics. It's about presence. It's about speaking with your full self engaged, with your body, your tone, your eyes, your energy. It's about being so aligned with your message that no part of you feels fake when you say it. That level of authenticity is rare, and people recognize it immediately. They know when you mean what you say. They know when you're not just talking. They know when you're living your message. That's when influence becomes real. That's when people start to follow. Not because they were convinced, but because they were moved. You cannot inspire people with something you don't believe in. You cannot create energy in others if you're dead in your own voice. So if you want to communicate vision in a way that drives action, you must begin with internal alignment. Ask yourself, do I really believe what I'm saying? Do I live by these words? Do I feel urgency when I speak them? If the answer is no, go deeper. Don't repeat empty phrases. Don't recycle ideas that don't light you up. Speak what is real to you. Speak from a place of truth. That truth will give your words weight, and that weight will carry influence. When you share your vision, you have to make it simple. Paint the picture in a way that others can grasp quickly. Use language that's vivid but clear. Describe what's possible, not just what's wrong. Show them what you see. Let them feel the future you believe in. Give them a reason to care, and give them a role in that vision. People commit when they feel included. When they see that their contribution matters. When they understand that this isn't just your vision, it's ours. Your voice can be the turning point for someone's direction. If you speak with confidence and clarity, you can change how someone sees themselves. You can help them step up. You can help them believe. But you must stop waiting for perfect words. You must stop holding back until you feel totally ready. Speak now. Speak from where you are. Speak with whatever strength you have, because the longer you wait, the more momentum you lose. Influence is built in the moment, not in theory. Use your own story. Share what you've seen. Share what you've experienced. Share the moments that shaped your passion. People don't remember data points. They remember emotion. They remember the moments that felt human. If you've struggled, say so. If you've overcome something, share that. If you've seen something that others need to see, don't hold back. Make it personal. Make it specific. Make it something they can feel, not just understand. Repeat your message. Influence grows through consistency. People rarely remember what you said once, but when they hear it again and again, when your words echo in their mind, long after the conversation ends, that's when the message sticks. Don't be afraid to repeat the vision. Don't be afraid to reinforce what matters. Just make sure that every time you say it, it sounds like you mean it. Make sure it feels alive, not scripted. Repetition without passion becomes noise, but repetition with belief becomes power. Invite others to speak into the vision. Ask what they see. Ask how they feel. Ask what they need to make it real. This creates ownership. It creates shared responsibility. People are more likely to commit to something they helped shape. You're not here to control every step. You're here to lead the way with clarity, but with space for others to step forward with their own insight, effort and creativity. You don't have to shout to lead. You don't have to overwhelm others with intensity. But you do have to believe so strongly in your message that people can feel it in the way you look at them, in the way you stand, in the way you speak. Influence is not about pushing harder. It's about standing firmer in your belief, in your direction, in your clarity. If you feel hesitation when speaking your vision, don't avoid it. Look at it. Ask where it comes from. Maybe you fear rejection. Maybe you doubt whether you're qualified. Maybe you've been misunderstood before. That's all normal. But those fears do not need to guide your words. You are allowed to speak with full belief, even when your voice shakes. You are allowed to own your message, even before others fully accept it. Visionaries are rarely understood at first. Speak anyway. Your job is not to convince everyone. Your job is to speak so clearly that the right people hear you, and they will. They will feel your clarity. They will hear your fire. They will remember your words long after the conversation ends, because you didn't just share an idea. You shared belief, and belief creates change. Make it your daily habit to speak your vision out loud, to your team, to your friends, to yourself. Let it become so familiar in your own voice that it never feels forced. Let it live in your language, your actions, your decisions. Let your life become the proof of your message. When people see that alignment, they will trust you. They will follow, not because you demanded it, but because you lived it. This kind of communication is not a skill you master once. It's something you keep developing. Every conversation is practice. Every moment is a chance to reinforce what matters. Speak when it's hard. Speak when you're tired. Speak when no one seems to be listening. That persistence builds momentum, and momentum builds impact. You don't need to be famous to have influence. You don't need a stage. You don't need a title. You just need to speak what you believe, clearly and consistently, with a voice that is anchored in purpose. When you do that, people will notice, they will remember, and they will begin to believe, not just in your message, but in themselves. Let every word you say reflect the future you believe in. Let every conversation be a chance to bring someone closer to what's possible. Let every moment be a reminder that vision is not just something you see, it's something you share, and the way you share it can change everything.
Chapter 20. Reflect daily on communication skills to steadily improve. Improvement doesn't happen automatically. It happens when you pay attention. It happens when you stop at the end of the day and ask yourself, did I communicate well today? Did I listen with care? Did I speak with clarity? Did I let my emotions lead, or did I stay grounded? Daily reflection is how you grow, not in dramatic leaps, but in consistent steps. Every day brings you opportunities to get better at how you speak, how you listen, and how you connect. But if you don't pause and learn from those moments, you repeat the same habits, and those habits either strengthen your ability or weaken your impact. The truth is, most people never reflect on their communication. They move from conversation to conversation without considering the effect of their words. They respond out of emotion, speak without thought, interrupt without noticing, and assume they're being understood without checking. But mastery comes from awareness. It comes from reviewing what you did, what you could have done better, and what you will do differently next time. If you want to become someone who communicates with strength, calm, and influence,
You must become someone who reflects daily. You don't need hours to reflect. You just need 5 quiet minutes. Sit down, breathe deeply, and ask yourself the right questions. What conversations today stood out? Where did I speak too quickly? Where did I hold back when I should have spoken? Did I listen fully, or was I distracted? Did I let ego get in the way of connection? Was I present in the moment, or rushing to respond? Did I leave someone feeling understood or confused? These questions are your mirror. They show you the difference between who you were and who you're trying to become, and they guide your next step with more intention. Reflection helps you catch patterns. You begin to notice where your communication breaks down. You notice which situations trigger impatience. You notice how certain people bring out certain tones in your voice. You see which topics make you defensive. You recognize which conversations energize you and which drain you. This self-awareness is not about judgment, it's about growth. The more you understand your tendencies, the more power you have to shift them. You are not stuck in old habits, but you are responsible for recognizing them if you want to change them. Daily reflection is also how you build emotional discipline. Every conversation is a test of patience, presence, and purpose. You don't always pass. You say things you regret. You speak from frustration. You shut down or push too hard. But if you reflect on those moments, instead of ignoring them, you grow. You learn to pause next time. You learn to breathe. You learn to choose better words. You build the ability to respond from strength rather than reaction. And that ability is what transforms your communication from average to impactful. Reflecting on your communication also helps you build better relationships. You become more aware of how others experience you. You notice how your tone affects the room. You realize how often you dominate or shrink in conversation. You see the difference between speaking to be heard and speaking to create understanding. And with that insight, you begin to shift. You begin to speak less but with more depth. You begin to listen more and judge less. You begin to connect with people, not just talk to them. That's the difference reflection makes. You don't have to wait for conflict or mistakes to reflect. Do it on good days too. Ask yourself what went well. What conversation flowed naturally? What moment brought clarity? What words made someone smile or feel supported? What part of your communication felt effortless? These positive moments teach you too. They remind you of your strengths. They show you what to do more of. They give you confidence to keep showing up with clarity and presence. Over time, daily reflection sharpens your intuition. You begin to feel the right time to speak. You sense when to stay silent. You hear beyond the words being said. You start anticipating needs. You adjust in real time. You stop reacting and start leading. Not through power, but through presence. That presence is what makes you different. It's what makes your voice feel steady in a noisy world. And it comes from the quiet habit of reflection. This habit builds consistency. You don't just improve by accident. You improve because you make a commitment to learn from every interaction. You take communication seriously. You treat every word as something that carries weight. You understand that one sentence can build or break trust. One response can close or open a heart. And that understanding makes you careful but not cautious. It makes you deliberate. It makes you clear. It makes you someone others feel safe around. Reflection also helps you recover faster. You will have days where you fall short, days where you interrupt too much, speak too harshly, or withdraw when you should engage. But if you reflect honestly, you don't get stuck in guilt. You see what happened. You take ownership. You adjust. You move forward. And next time you do better. That's the rhythm of growth. Not perfection. Just attention, just consistency, just the willingness to stay awake in your own life. You don't need a perfect system to reflect. You just need intention. You can journal. You can sit in silence. You can speak your thoughts out loud. You can ask a few powerful questions and answer them with honesty. What mattered most in how I communicated today? Where did I lead with clarity? Where did I fall into old habits? What do I want to practice tomorrow? These small reflections compound. Over time they create transformation, quietly, steadily, powerfully. When you reflect daily, you begin to speak with more purpose. You stop wasting words. You stop chasing approval. You start valuing depth over noise. And people notice. They listen more closely. They trust you faster. They feel calmer in your presence. Because now you are someone who chooses your words, not someone who throws them. You are someone who speaks to uplift, to clarify, to build. And that quality is not common, but it's built one day at a time. The person who reflects consistently becomes the person who grows relentlessly. You don't stay stuck. You don't stay reactive. You don't live on autopilot. You evolve, and you evolve in ways that change your relationships, your leadership, your self-respect, all because you were willing to take a few minutes each day to look in the mirror. Not with shame, but with clarity. Start tonight. Ask yourself what worked today and what didn't. Write it down, or just sit with it. Let the lesson speak. Let your awareness grow. Let your discipline deepen. This is how communication mastery is built. Not by talking more, but by listening better. Not by always being right, but by always being willing to learn. Not by having perfect words, but by being fully present in the words you do use. You already have everything it takes to be an excellent communicator, but it will only grow if you tend to it daily. Make this your quiet ritual, the few minutes that shape your voice, your